currently employed as Sunday Times editor, received 550,000 rand. The second implicated company, Zipsiflo, was meant to fund a women's soccer clinic in the Free State, but instead, company directors pocketed the money, with one purchasing a property in Basonia with 900,000 rand. SIU spokesperson Selby Magoto.
This recovery demonstrates the SIU's commitment to protecting public funds. Money meant to empower communities was instead diverted into private enrichment schemes.
The SIU says it is also obligated to refer the evidence for prosecution for the criminal conduct. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News.
The Justice Department says it does not have enough money to cover the costs of a 6-month extension of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. But Minister Mameloko Kubai says she's already approached Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana to consider an additional budget allocation. Of the 147 million rand budgeted for the Madlanga Commission, 123 million has been spent so far. Presenting the department's annual performance plan to Parliament today, Kubai has also raised concern about the cost of the protracted Nkabinde inquiry, which is investigating the fitness to hold office of the Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions, Andrew Chauke. Lindsay Dentinga has more.
The Justice Department is currently footing the bill for 3 inquiries. Chief Financial Officer Rapiwa Singo says at present the Madlanga and Kampepe commissions are operating well within budget, but more money will be needed to allow the Madlanga Commission to complete its work.
For the next 6 months, we have requested more funding, and that might be higher than what we initially requested because of the time frames that are tight.
Minister Mameloko Kubai says an additional budget allocation to fund the August extension date could be made through the adjustments budget later this year.
We wanted assurance from Minister of Finance to being able to give us these resources so that we don't kill critical performance areas in the department.
However, Kubai says the Nkabinde inquiry is akin to a disciplinary process which is proving very costly.
We do have concerns about that funding because we now have to carry that cost.
She says while the Kampepe inquiry was initially underfunded, that gap has now been closed. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Meanwhile, at the Madlanga Commission today, suspended Tshwane Metro Police Deputy Chief Umashi Dlamini has been questioned about his intervention to ensure a security company was paid for invoices generated without a purchase order. Dlamini works in the Finance Department of the TMPD, responsible for division, support and administration. He has been questioned about payments made to implicated security company Gubis 85 Solutions 6 months after it allegedly did the work. Tabisa Kowa has more.
For ad hoc security services, the procedure in the city of Tshwane requires that a purchase order must be generated prior to the company being deployed to a particular site. After deployment, the company then submits an invoice that matches the purchase order. Once it's confirmed that the work was done, the municipality has to pay out the invoice within 30 days. However, for Gubis 85 Solutions, things were seemingly done different, as the company had 6 months worth of outstanding invoices for security work it had done. There was also no purchase orders issued prior to the security work. TMPD's Deputy Chief Umashi Dlamini says he's not sure who deployed the company without a purchase order. However, he was able to certify that the services were rendered by Gubis.
I had to intervene in this instance because, as the CFO indicating that the service providers were contemplating to go to court, and in most instances they get granted and the city's account gets attached.
TMPD's Deputy Chief in the Assets Protection Security Unit, Revo Spies, previously testified at the Commission that he suspected some security companies were being paid for work they had not done. Thabiso Kuba, Eyewitness News.
And in Indonesia, the presidency has ordered an investigation into the cause of a fatal train crash. It's understood a long-distance train crashed into a stationary commuter train overnight, killing 15 people and injuring dozens. A senior cabinet minister told reporters the death toll rose to 15, with another 88 people injured. Transport accidents are not uncommon in Indonesia, a nation where buses, trains and even planes are often old and poorly maintained. Gold is trading at $4,673.81 an ounce. The rand is at 16.62 to the dollar, 22.41 to the pound, 19.37 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $108.76 a barrel.
In the traffic, if you're travelling in Devland, traffic is sluggish on the Golden Highway between the N12 and the N1 due to roadworks, and look out for faulty traffic lights in Plegari at Jan Smuts and Republic.
In your sport, Bruno Fernandes on course to break Premier League's assist record. Akani Simbini looks ahead to hosting his own track meeting. And Alison Felix plots 2028 Olympics comeback.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with temperatures having peaked at highs of between 22 and 23 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the Special Investigating Unit has recovered 3.2 million rand from two companies that benefited unduly from the National Lotteries Commission.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
A very good afternoon, everyone. It's 8 minutes past 3 on Tuesday, the 28th of April. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you're listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. Hope you had a great long weekend. There's another one coming up, Friday, another public holiday. The Department of Basic Education has had to turn to National Treasury. This after a 1.6 billion rand book and teaching material tender has raised serious questions.
When this was brought to my attention, I am aware that Treasury has the capacity to look at whether, as the custodian, as the legal custodian of all procurement processes, they have the ability to look at whether or not procurement was done and was done well. And then, of course, depending on what they come up with, that will then inform my next steps. But ultimately, my job is to make sure that this process is without fault and that ultimately the books land up with the children in the catalogue.
That was Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwachube talking earlier to Mandy Wiener. If you want to hear the full interview, by the way, primemediaplus.com is our website. You'll find that interview and all the others that interest you there. What's at issue here? Well, how did a company, this according to a story published by News24, which is what prompted the minister to act, how did a company with no publishing track record that was actually registered some 3 days before the bid process closed get the biggest share of this contract? It's for foundation phase learning materials, so the way in which this is exercised and implemented is absolutely crucial. We never stop talking about how those early years of education influence the much later outcomes like matric results. So, a lot of questions still to ask and hopefully get answers to. We'll do that after 4 o'clock. Some other stories we're covering. Mongezi Koko has been walking through the streets of Tshwane today covering a March and March. Now, March and March is an activist body which has taken a strong position against illegal immigration in South Africa. A number of political parties have joined them. I saw Action SA. I think I saw the African Transformation Movement. This is just from my glancing up at the TV screen from time to time. But the march is aimed at putting pressure on government to exercise much stricter control over our borders and to take much more effective action, they say, inside South Africa against people who are here illegally. Mongezi with us in about 5 minutes' time. The Madlanga Commission, as you heard a moment ago, continuing to strip away layers from the often very murky waters that seem to surround certain kinds of tenders at the Tshwane Metro. I've watched quite a bit of this, and I must say, getting clear answers to what, to me, often seem like straightforward questions has been unbelievably difficult. Tabiso Goba is listening and waiting, perhaps in vain, for some clear answers, but certainly the questions are probing fairly deeply. Tabiso with us after 5. And we all take to the skies for different reasons.
'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane, don't know when I'll be back again. Oh babe, I hate to go.
Well, John Denver may hate to go, but I can tell you a lot of people who get on a plane are getting on for a very, very good reason. Yes, there's those heartbreaking departures in there, but people are traveling for reasons of business. People are attending weddings, funerals, graduations, following up on maybe a date taking shape from an online matchmaking service. There's any number of reasons why people fly. But flying is not only going to get more expensive, that's already happening, but we may see rescheduling and possibly even cancellation of flights. The price of aviation fuel has shot up in its magnitude. I know that everything has gone up in the fuel space, but I think it's gone from around 8 Rand something to 30 Rand something. And the implications will go beyond just your pocket. I'm pretty sure of that. I think I read somewhere that Lufthansa over the next few months will cancel 20,000 domestic flights in Germany. I'll double check on that number so I don't get it wrong. But the number was really, really quite significant. So what are the implications for us? Dr. Guy Leach, aviation expert, joining us at about 4:20 to give us his take on this. Now, on the markets, anyone trading on the JSE is probably wishing that the long weekend had been longer. The All Shares down by 1,840 points. That's a fallback of close on 1.6%. Resources are hardest hit. Take a seat if you hold gold and platinum stocks. That index is down by 4.7%, but you probably know that already. Platinum stocks in particular dominating the red section of the board. Sibanye off by 7.2%. Implats is down by 5.9%. Northam weaker by 5.7%. Better day for the coal company Thungela. That's related to the oil price. Yeah, I think if you are sitting, stay there because I'm going to give you that in a moment. Thungela, a better day, as I said, the coal company up by 3.9%. AB InBev has gained 2.5%. Rand losing ground as well, currently at 16 Rand 62 against the dollar, 14 cents weaker than this time yesterday. A euro will cost you 19 Rand 43, 22 Rand 40 will get you a pound. The losses less steep than against those two currencies. The oil price is a whole lot uglier than it was yesterday. Brent crude currently selling for $111.70 a barrel. That's a price spike of $4.19 today. Stephen Curtis joins us with all the market news from behind his couch at 4:25. We'll get sport with Tola Kelly Mganga. Khomotso Munyai has the traffic news, and Bali Dlamini, you heard her a moment ago, will be joining us at 3:30 with the latest news headlines. So we've got lots for you, but I'm pretty sure that you've got a few things for us. One of them is simply this. There are the stories we know about, there's the stories we hear about, but we can't be everywhere and cover everything. So if you do hear of something, know of something, perhaps you found out an angle or a detail on a particular story that we're covering, please get in touch because we're always keen to get the latest news from you if you are able to help us with that. 072 702 1702 or 011 883 0702. This is 702 Drive. It's 3:15.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
Tourism, a crucial part of the economy in South Africa. It's something that we need to grow. There are always strategies afoot, but there's nothing that is quite as good as excellent publicity. Now, there's a publication in the UK, I think there's a South African equivalent, Auto Trader UK, has ranked the world's best road trip routes. They do it on a number of criteria. On the one hand, they look at how scenic the route is, and they also look at driving conditions, visibility, clear days, wind speed, humidity, ground temperature, and rainfall and road surface conditions. And I'm delighted to say, I didn't bring a drum roll with me, but it would be appropriate, that the garden route in South Africa is leading Auto Trader UK's list of iconic drives. There are a couple of others that they mention. I'll just run through the top 5. Route 66 in the US comes next. The Pacific Coast Highway, again in the US, running through the states, I think, of California, Oregon, and Washington. Never done that drive. Never done Route 66 either. The Amalfi Coast Road in Italy is 4th, and the Costa Brava Coastal Roads in Spain comes 5th. I'll mention the others in the top 5 a little bit later. But I'm just keen to know from you. I mean, the Garden Route is absolutely magnificent. I've driven it many, many, many times and never ceased to enjoy it. But I do wonder what it would be like to see it for the first time. I'm also keen to know from you, by the way, what for you are some of the other great road trips in South Africa, because there's definitely more than just the Garden Route. And I'm wondering if there's a drive and a road that you would recommend. I would say Oudtshoorn to Beaufort West is a really, really cool drive. In fact, Oudtshoorn to Beaufort West in particular, and mainly, I suppose, because you go through the Meyringspoort Pass, which is just beyond exquisite. It really is gorgeous if you've never done that drive. But that's my little addition to the road trip suggestion. Jonathan Fairbairn, do you have a favorite road trip that you can share and guide us towards?
Yeah, nothing like out of the ordinary, I'm afraid, because I must say I'm not the most fondest person when it comes to driving the car long distances.
No, man, we've got to change this.
So that's not a big thing for me. But some of the roads where there's been some really beautiful, and that's also the thing when you're driving, right? You miss out on so much that happens around you.
Yeah.
And then when you get the opportunity to be a passenger, you're like, wow, I didn't even know this was even here. You see the little details. But some of the nice roads and obviously scenic areas, driving around and leading up to Kaapsehoop is beautiful. You go through like these little roads and full of pines, and you might be lucky enough to see the wild horses running on the sides. And then obviously you get up and you park, and then you could do a walk, and you get to this sort of just hangs over a cliff where you just see this whole view of Nelspruit and Mpumalanga. So that's for me. And then obviously, there's some of those routes in the Cape are really, really beautiful to drive. But I'm driving to the Karoo in June.
Oh, okay.
So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be the first time I'm driving to that area. So I'll be the passenger, by the way.
Great.
So looking forward to seeing some really nice stuff there.
And looking forward to hearing what you think of it. Another Karoo route, by the way. Colesberg via Middelburg to Graafrenet. Absolutely gorgeous as well, especially if you can do it in, late-ish afternoon, 3 o'clock onwards. The light is stunning. How about you, Khumotso Munya? I know you're going to give us the business of the roads in a moment, but do you have a favorite road trip?
Yes. Good afternoon, John. So I have never been to this one, but I recently saw it at the Two Oceans Marathon on television. This is the Chapman's Peak, I think.
Okay.
It looks terrifying. It looks like a scene that you will see probably on like Fast and the Furious. It's giving.
Not recommended to see it that way. Fast and Furious.
So I would love to experience that one. But I recently went to Midlands, and oh my goodness, what some beautiful views. Just after, I think, Moy River into Howick. Oh, it's so beautiful. It almost seems like the mountains are going to tip over and fall and just swallow you. It's green. There's this open road as well. You kind of forget that you are in South Africa, especially if you're someone who is a city person and lives in Johannesburg. Just being in those green area and on the open road. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that N3 is gorgeous even before you get there, actually. Harry Smith onwards.
Oh, yes.
And Van Reenen's Pass down into the KZN Midlands. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Favorite road trips? Maybe you've got a story, not just about the road, but about a special place where you should stop for a meal or a coffee, or even consider staying there overnight. Your suggestions, please. 21 minutes past 3.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by GWM, class-leading vehicles that help you navigate your journey. No time to talk scenery here. What does the traffic look like as we all come back from a long weekend?
Thank you, John. We'll start in Bedford View. If you're heading towards that direction, there is slow-moving traffic on the N3 South. It is due to an accident just before Linksfield Road with delays starting from Modderfontein Road. So please drive carefully as you approach that area. The M1 North from Athol Oaklands Road all the way to the Petlu interchange is also experiencing some pressure. And over in Devland, traffic is sluggish on the Golden Highway between the N12 and the N1 due to roadworks. I'll have more updates in just a bit.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Ever since fuel went up, you've had to endure a lot. Like helping your mom run errands while she tries to help you with your love life.
Hi, Bo. Kanti, when are you and Sfiso getting married? Pella, I want grandchildren.
Don't let the fuel hike put you under pressure. Get 5,000 Rand towards your fuel when you buy a Haval or P-Series this month. Visit gwm.co.za or your nearest dealer to book a test drive. GWM. Go with more.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
For someone who's listening to our conversation and says, well, I'm tired of being forced to have the guilt as a white South African because I wasn't there during apartheid. Yes, my great gay parents may have been there or supported the system, but I've got nothing to do with it. So what do I need to do? Do I need to heal?
Second question first. Clement, you said that you were born after apartheid, but you still had scars. So recognizing those scars, you know, as a young white student in South Africa, we had unhealthy guilt, and that was that we drank bad red wine and all we got was babalas.
Father Michael Lapsley, founder and president of the Institute for Healing Memories.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an unmistakable rhythm that brings us all together. In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi to unite the whole of Joburg in the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babize Bonke. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going on a walk through the iconic Joburg CBD, and we want you to join us and be a part of something special. Entries open soon. In the meantime, stay tuned to 702 and get ready for the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Jozi. Babize Bonke. More on primemediaplus.com.
The Bet Blast is on with Hollywood Bets and Bet Games. Stand a chance to win your share of 1 million Rand from the 1st to the 30th of April 2026. The fresh, funky games in the Bet Games portfolio will set your pulse racing while offering many chances for big wins. Bet 2 Rand or more on slots, 10 Rand or more on crash games, and 10 Rand or more on live casino games to be in the running to reap rich rewards. Bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Is there a strong case for companies to start looking at bringing back sort of work from home policies?
There is to some degree, and those that can are already doing so. The fact of the matter is, though, that since, as you've just mentioned, since the pandemic, those that could already are to a very large degree. We are seeing some flexibility when it comes to employers.
Tony Healy, Labour consultant at Icon Labour Consultants.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show, Stephen Crutches, is brought to you by ABSA Corporate Investment Banking. Success in trade comes from systems that move with speed, connect markets seamlessly, and unlock growth that works across borders. That's why ABSA is a proud sponsor of Trade Tech Europe 2026. Engineered for how Africa trades. ABSA is a registered FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Another road trip suggestion from Hilton. Thank you. He says the other drive, which is also beautiful, is the Van Rhyns Pass, the R27 from Van Rhynsdorp, which is in the Western Cape, towards Nieuwoudtville, which is in the Northern Cape. And he says when you see the Welcome to Northern Cape sign and you look over your shoulder towards the Western Cape, it looks like a large quilted blanket. Lovely. If you're looking over your shoulder, of course, make sure you look back. Maybe pull over and look over roughly where your shoulder would have been when you first thought of stopping. Thank you. I've been in that general area, haven't done that drive. 702 Drive, 27 minutes past 3.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Right. The civic organization March and March has been marching in downtown Pretoria today, marching in the towards the union buildings. From what I could see on television, a number of political parties joining that as well. Mongezi Koka, our EWN reporter colleague, has been there and keeping an eye on things. Mongezi, a very good afternoon to you. Once the march reached, or is still to reach, the union buildings, I'm not sure exactly where they are now. What were they going to present by way of memorandum of demands? What are they asking government to do?
A very good afternoon to you, Ndede John. Well, included in the memorandum of demands by March and March, which is a civic organization, as you've mentioned, accompanied by plus minus 10 other civic organizations and parties such as Action SA and the Umkhonto weSizwe Party, they were calling for the tightening of the definition of a refugee within South Africa, the introduction of a first safe country policy, which was included, of course, in the recent white paper that we saw Home Affairs brag about and really speak out about. And we also saw their demands for stricter controls on asylum seekers, student visas and work permits. Now, in addition to all these calls, they also are asking for the revocation of trading licenses for businesses employing undocumented foreign nationals and for immigration functions to be centralized under the Border Management Authority. So essentially saying that immigration officers who are currently employed under the Department of Home Affairs to rather be transferred to the BMA, further stressing that point that we heard from the BMA back during the Easter safety campaign, that they are operating on 25% of the expected workforce, highlighting that they need to have 11,000 workers, but they're currently just sitting on 800. So today's demonstrations were really peaceful, starting out at Burger Park and then moving right through Sunnyside. This is where we saw a number of confrontations, albeit none of them were violent. It was just the protesters expressing their disdain for the lack of enforcement when it comes to immigration laws and calling out a number of people that they themselves identified as being in the country without the correct documentations. None of this was proven, of course, and then they just moved on there all the way to the union buildings. This is where they then handed over their memorandum of demands to Deputy Minister and the President, Sinongaiba Mhlaule, who then received it and said that this coincides with what government is working towards in terms of accomplishing a stronger stance against illegal immigration, further reiterating that a copy would sit on the President's desk alongside Minister of Home Affairs, Leon Schreiber's desk, saying that the march's demands are really pleasant and they make sense. However, then furthering a call by government to say that the march should not devolve into violence or xenophobic attacks, which may paint out South Africans as people who cannot live in harmony with people from other countries, but also acknowledging that there are people who are undocumented within the borders of the Republic.
And just finally, Mongezi, give us a sense, if you will, of, first of all, the size of the crowd that took part in the march, but secondly, you spoke about their passage through Sunnyside and some exchanges of less than friendly words, but in general, along the route, what was your sense of the reaction of the Tshwane residents that they passed?
Right. So in the beginning, which was early this morning, we saw just a few people, mainly members of March and March, but the number ballooned and sort of became a large grouping of people, dozens of other civic organizations having joined in and their members, further raising the number of people who were there. This was a very peaceful march, very well coordinated in terms of their passage through sunny side, what we did see were some of the civic organization leadership instructing the people who are marching to remain in the center of the road on the tarmac and not walk on the sideways closer to the businesses. Many of the businesses within the CBD having shut their doors as a safety precaution, but nothing untoward happening. I'll take you back to what we saw in Kugombo City, where it evolved into a very dangerous time where cars were torched and buildings were looted, and what we saw last week in KZN in Durban, where many people who were assumed to be undocumented being confronted and threatened. None of this happened.
Yes.
In fact, when you ask me about the Tshwane residents, they did descend and join in on the protest action calmly, peacefully, many of whom were students, as you'd imagine, from TUT and the University of Pretoria, just joining in and walking with these people, chanting and singing, asking for their voices to be heard.
Mongezi Koko in the streets of Pretoria. You, I'm sure, aware of the march and certainly aware of the issues around the march. If you want to share your thoughts on that, give us a call on 011 883 0702 072 702 1702, 28 minutes to 4. Right, let's get the very latest eyewitness news then with Mbali Dlamini. Let's start, I believe, down in KZN. Good afternoon.
That's correct, John. A very good afternoon. Experts have been deployed to work on the mass murder of 7 members of the Munswami family. That's in KZN. They were kidnapped from their Newark home and murdered in Malmorth last week. 3 suspects linked to the matter appeared in court today on robbery, kidnapping, rape, murder and possession of illegal firearm charges. KZN Police Deputy Provincial Commissioner responsible for crime detection, Anthony Gopal, says they have assigned seasoned investigators to the case.
It's not about how many people, it's about having the right people for the right task. And it's a combination of skill set where it comes to specialists who deal with kidnapping, house robberies, serious and violent crimes such as murders. So it's a combination of specialized skills, forensics, that was made up in this team.
He adds that investigators are now hot on the heels of the outstanding suspect in this case.
We are aware of who the suspect is, and we have a team that's specifically tracking and tracing towards the end objective of making an arrest.
Trade Union Federation COSATU is calling for the toning down of hostilities between its alliance partners, the ANC and SACP. There's tension between the organizations after the SACP's decision to contest elections alone. Last week, the ANC gave SACP members an ultimatum to pick which side they will be campaigning for in the upcoming local government elections. COSATU's Matthew Parks says they want an urgent political council where these matters can be discussed.
COSATU, the largest federation of trade unions in the nation, shares a membership and a constituency with its alliance partners. If solutions to tension with the alliance are not found, we risk the danger not only dividing the federation and its membership, but the working class as a whole.
No injuries have been reported after a fire broke out at the Denel plant in Somerset West. Cape Town Fire and Rescue crews arrived on the site earlier today, assisting Denel teams to contain the blaze. The defence manufacturing plant has a history of safety-related incidents. In 2018, 8 workers were killed in a massive explosion, while a smaller blast in 2021 caused no fatalities but renewed calls for the plant's closure. Cape Town Disaster Risk Management spokesperson Sonika Latagan.
Disaster risk management officials are on site at Denel to assist where needed following a fire this morning. The city's fire and rescue services dispatched crews from Makassar and Khayelitsha to assist with extinguishing the fire. Emergency medical services were on scene as well, although no injuries were reported.
And in Saudi Arabia, leaders and officials from across the Gulf region have arrived to discuss the ongoing crisis in that region. The crisis has been triggered by the US-Israeli war against Iran. The talks come as the White House considers Iran's latest proposal to end the conflict and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Iran launched attacks targeting the Gulf states in response to the US and Israeli strikes on the Islamic Republic that began on February 2020. On the 28th, rather. It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 22 and 23 degrees.
In the traffic in Pretoria, if you're around Linwood, please be careful on the N1 North as there is a stationary vehicle at Linwood Road, not affecting flow of traffic as much, but just be aware of it. Chris Honey Road also seems to be experiencing some delays from the University of Johannesburg to Maponya Mall.
The top story in EWN, experts have been deployed to work on the mass murder case of 7 members of the Monswami family in northern KZN.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Yesterday, the 27th of April, has become a public holiday for us to reflect and enjoy our democracy. It is Freedom Day, and we received well wishes from all over the world, including from the United States. It was a brief statement from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, but it read, "On behalf of the United States of America, I extend warm greetings to the people of South Africa as you commemorate Freedom Day. Over 3 decades since South Africa's democratic transition, this occasion provides an opportunity to reflect on the country's history and future as we look ahead."
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Mzansi, the staggering 75 million rand estimated Powerball Plus jackpot is turning up the heat this Tuesday. Play Powerball Plus for an estimated 75 million rand jackpot today and step closer to winning the multi-millions. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Let's hear from Shemaine, owner of Vovotello Linwood, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
I wish we had switched sooner. Not only was it quick and easy, but also gave us more favourable premiums.
For restaurants, pharmacies, and all other businesses. Get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
702. WhatsApp John on 072 702 1702.
Hi. Talking about road trip and going down to Durban. There's an absolute gem of a place called the Green Lantern. It's in the Van Riene's village. A lovely stopover place. It does have pet-friendly rooms. Always good for a quick breakfast on the way down to Durban, or on the way back. The owner, by the name of Bill, he recommended one day that we do 5 passes, and it takes you up and down five passes in the Drakensberg. There's so much history in the area. It's absolutely amazing. And I just think the Green Lantern is a wonderful stopover place.
Good afternoon, John. This is Selma from Roodepoort. I still remember many years ago when my husband and I went on a bus trip through the Cape that took us around the Chapman's Peak Pass, or rather drive. And as we got up to going about it, the driver said, "If it's scary, just close your eyes. Your bus driver will be doing the same." Thanks for a lovely show. Bye.
Good afternoon, John. This is Kaula from Pretoria. What I enjoy mostly about road trips are driving through small towns, small dorpies. And some of the towns, these are towns that I'd never heard of. In December, we drove from the Northern Cape to the Eastern Cape, to Tebega. And then we drove through a small town called Philippolis. I'd never heard of that name. It's a town, but I couldn't see any store that was familiar, that I'd seen before.
Yeah, Philippolis used to be, before there was the N1 and a major highway taking you down to the Cape through that particular area. Is Philippolis in the Northern Cape, Eastern Cape, or the Free State? I'll have to check on that. But yeah, that was one of the routes you could take. I suppose it still is, but lots changed with highways linking us up in ways that was never the case, maybe 3-4 decades ago. Ridwan says the best is the garden route. I've not done the West Coast to Namibia, but I hear great things. I haven't done that furthest I've gone, certainly no. Ceres is probably the furthest I've gone on that road, but beyond, apparently it's gorgeous. Makosa Zane says the road trip that leads to the Drakensberg and Bergville in particular. Quite a few people are pointing us to the Panorama route, which is a real jewel in the Mpumalanga crown, starting off in Nelspruit up to White River, go to Sabi, and Graskop would be part of that route, and places you see along the way, God's Window, Lisbon and Berlin Falls, Bergslack potholes, and of course the Blade River Canyon. Keep those coming, please. Great road trips, even if they are short half-day or one-day road trips. And then, of course, there are things like the Garden Route where you can take your final time and do it over many days. 18 minutes now to 4.
EWN Sport.
Another good result for Manchester United, closing in Tolakele on a Champions League place.
Absolutely, John, and that follows their 2-1 win over Brentford last night. The top 5 in the Premier League will qualify for the tournament next season, and United need 2 more points to seal their return to Europe's elite competition after a 2-year absence. Bruno Fernandes has also been praised by interim head coach Michael Carrick, with the captain now 1 assist away from matching the league record of 20 in a single season.
Listen, hopefully he does. He deserves it, for the impact that he's had and the moments that he's created. I think whether that's creating, whether that's scoring, whether that's having other influence within the group, he's had a big season. There's no getting away from it, and it was another good performance from him tonight.
Laura Waldbad has moved to a career-high 3rd place in the ICC Women's T20 batting rankings following a successful home series against India for the Proteas women. She smashed an unbeaten 56-ball 92 to finish the 5-match showdown with a total of 330 runs, which is the most individual runs in a women's bilateral T20 series, as South Africa won the matches 4-1. She was also named Player of the Series.
Yeah, very happy with my form at the moment. I want to say, though, I did get the best of conditions, won all the tosses, was able to chase under lights in the first 4 games and batted first today on a slowish wicket. After a tough tour to New Zealand, it's been really nice to turn it around. I can't really tell you what's changed that much. I think that's the funny thing about cricket is in New Zealand I was 9 of 16 in the one game, and today I'm batting quite a lot better and don't really know why.
The inaugural Simbini Classic takes place today as Akani Simbini hosts the first World Athletics Continental Tour Silver event in South Africa. 12 disciplines will be on the main program for the meeting, which is offering a 1.46 million prize money, which is a record purse for a track and field meeting in the country. Speaking ahead of it, Simbini has discussed the inspiration behind the classic.
Been saying to the world, we have performers, we have the athletes, we are doing well on the world tour, we are doing well at the championships, we are doing well at Olympic Games. The youngsters are also producing well, so I think it's very important that now we say to the world we're ready to take a next step in the athletics world and host such a meet, and I believe that will inspire the next generation of athletes to actually want to stay in the sport.
And Alison Felix plans to come out of retirement in a bid to compete at the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. The 40-year-old is a 7-time Olympic gold medalist and could possibly appear at her 6 games if she qualifies. Her place at LA 28 is not guaranteed, as she would first have to navigate the U.S. track and field qualification system. Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
At 16 minutes to 4, this EWN Traffic is brought to you by GWM, class-leading vehicles that help you navigate your journey. Kumotso Munyai on hand to let you know what's happening on the roads. Good afternoon.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon. If you're heading towards Bedford View, that accident on the N3 South just before Linksfield Road is now causing delays from Vincent Shabalala Road, so please be careful as you head into that stretch. The M1 North is moving really slowly from College Drive all the way to Woodmead Drive. And in Devlin, traffic is sluggish on the Golden Highway between the N12 and the N1. It is due to those roadworks, while Chris Hani Road seems to be experiencing some delays. This is from University of Johannesburg, to Maponya Mall. Also look out for faulty traffic lights in Woodmead at Woodmead and Woodlands, in Kyalami at the R55 in Kenilworth, as well as in Randburg at the N1 North and Beyers Nordia. If you do come across any other traffic on your side, please do send us a WhatsApp voice note on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Ever since fuel went up, you've had to endure a lot. Like helping your mom run errands while she tries to help you with your love life.
Hi, Bo. Kanti, when are you and Sfiso getting married? Pella, I want grandchildren.
Don't let the fuel hike put you under pressure. Get 5,000 Rand towards your fuel when you buy a Haval or P-Series this month. Visit gwm.co.za or your nearest dealer to book a test drive. GWM. Go with more.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
More road trip comments and suggestions. Sipelele says, garden route, make a stop at Tsitsikamma. Very beautiful indeed. Indeed, Sipelele, very special. Eugene just gives me some clarity on where Philippolis is exactly in terms of provincial boundaries, and then adds a very nice memory of his own. Here's Eugene. Philippolis is not far from Tromsburg in the Free State. In the early 80s, we used to visit my Oma there. She had an Aga stove and made the best boerekos. Those little towns are no longer what they used to be. Some are, but most have declined. Eugene concludes, it's sad, but at least we have amazing memories. Lovely road trips. Porsche adds to the ones we already have, the panorama and garden routes. Magubuskloof, that's a gorgeous drive, either side of that town. Very, very special indeed. What else? Okay, we'll come back to your suggestions for road trips. Thank you for those. And please do keep them coming. Tolakele, do you have a favorite road trip? It could be for the beauty, it could be for what's at the other end and a sense of excitement about a destination. It could be all of the above and more.
I just love traveling, so any
road trip, eh?
Any road.
You must. Will you drive Kabazela, because he wants to see the country by road, but he doesn't want to drive.
I get that as well, because for me, when I do road trips, I always tend to be the designated driver, and it comes with a lot of responsibility. But one of my favorite routes to drive, because when the first time I ever did a solocation, I went to Mpumalanga. It wasn't supposed to take as long as it did, but because I was just enjoying the stops and all the different routes, I just kept on stopping like every few hours. So I enjoyed that route, but I also like being with someone else in the car and all of us just like going, oh, I came here this one time, and then you get the backstory and you just get to know
very true, hey?
You just get to know someone so intimately, even though you weren't there, but them kind of having that memory flash towards them and just getting to know each other in that way.
That's a very important element of it. So please feel free to add that as well. So a lovely route that we would enjoy, the quality of the road maybe is something you want to comment on. What you pass and where you end up is obviously crucial. But if it weaves in, as Tolakele has just done, into kind of the sharing of time and memories and new insights into the people you're traveling with, that's a really nice and interesting element to add. 7:02 drive, 11 minutes to 4.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, of course, we may all be doing more driving than we perhaps expected to at the start of the year. You might say, well, I'm probably just going to concentrate on staying home because the cost of getting in a car and driving somewhere is hugely pricey. But however much petrol and diesel have gone up, nothing compared to the price of aviation fuel. In South Africa, jet fuel prices have gone from R8.50 per litre to 30. The implications are enormous and they're being felt globally. I mentioned a little bit earlier, by the way, that Lufthansa has made some huge changes. They're planning all the way through to October. They're reducing certain flights on certain routes, ones they describe as unprofitable. They're expanding others. But overall, 20,000 flights will be affected, according to the Lufthansa site. Jet fuel savings of more than 40,000 metric tons. I have no idea what the significance of that number is. It does sound like a lot, and they're saying this is affecting roughly 1% of their available seat kilometers, thereby somehow suggesting, look, this is big, but it's not necessarily a fundamental change. So what's going on, and crucially, how might this affect us here in South Africa and in the region? Aviation analyst Dr. Guy Leach joins us, as he often does, on Aviation Stories. Dr. Leach, welcome, and thanks very much for your time. Is the spike in aviation fuel price, simply Strait of Hormuz, clashes around, war around Iran, and so on? Or is there something particular about the way aviation fuel is produced and distributed that might be exacerbating this?
Yeah, hi, John, and nice to be with you as always. Well, yes, 90% of the problem relates to the problems in the Gulf, not just the Straits of Hormuz, because there are 7 key refineries. I don't know what the total percentage of jet fuel they produce in the Gulf, but they've all been damaged by the war. They were actually specifically targeted by the Iranian counteroffensive, and the best estimates are that it's going to take at least 6 months or longer to get those refineries back into a reasonable facsimile of full-scale production. And that's really the problem. The problem is not so much at this stage of supply, but of the certainty of supply. I think the key thing that we need to remember here is that airline tickets are often sold 6 months or even a year in advance, and those prices get locked in.
Yes.
So the airlines are really keen to know or to have some sort of security as to what the fuel prices might be going forward. Some of the airlines locally, like Fly South Air, for instance, have imposed a explicit fuel levy. Others are simply adjusting the prices as the the cost of fuel shoots up and down. I have to say too that I don't think that the figures put out in that Airlines Association press release are 100% reliable, because I don't think there were many airlines, if any, paying less than around 11 Rand 50 per litre. So we're looking at a price increase from about 11 Rand 50 to 25, 28 Rand, which is still absolutely horrendous, because airlines typically spend about 30-35% of their total operational costs on fuel. So it's going to be with us for quite some time.
So as it unfolds, I mean, Lufthansa is, offering the bad news and giving a timeline all the way to the end of October, and that presumably can be stretched if nothing is resolved. And there may well be good news, of course, which means they roll it out again. But are we realistically, Guy Leach, faced with South African Airlines, the few that we have, saying, look, we were flying to Cape Town 8 times a day, we're cutting it to 6?
That's already happening. We're already seeing flights being combined or cancelled on the less profitable routes. And one of the interesting things is that demand has turned out to be really elastic in terms of price changes. So a relatively small price change has seriously curtailed demand, and that makes it quite hard to predict what demand is likely to be going forward. Because even now, I've been booking flights to Cape Town this weekend, and the prices aren't that high. I think that we're finding that people are actually just not traveling. So as demand falls off for seats, obviously demand will fall off for fuel as well. And that might give the whole industry the breathing space it needs. I was interested, you said, the Lufthansa cancellations of 20 flights is bad news. Well, actually, maybe it could be good news, because multiplied across the industry, as I said, it provides a key breathing space or a key reduction in demand for these already maxed out oil supply facilities. It might give us a lot more time before the problems. We face the possibility of an actual fuel shortage, of fuel no supply.
At the risk of sounding determinedly glass half empty, Dr. Leach, let me ask you this though. I mean, when you and I have, and obviously through us, our listeners, hear your thoughts on airline issues, it's always in the wider context of the up and downstream industries, tourism, the most obvious of those, but a lot of business actually moves through the air, including freight. I mean, if there is this cutback, it does create the breathing space, but is there not collateral damage that really will be quite substantial, ranging from the Airbnb establishment in Hermanus that's losing bookings to people who are trying to move grapes from the Cape to here?
Thank you, John. You've actually pressed my favorite button. Because there are two metrics which I love trotting out about the importance of airline connectivity. The first is that every dollar spent on an airline ticket creates another $10 in the economy of direct benefits, and if you include indirect benefits, it can go up to as much as $30 of indirect benefits. And these are what you've referred to. They are the benefits of tourism to, for instance, the bed and breakfasts in Hermanus. And obviously business connectivity, that people will travel to look at business opportunities. They will travel to meet people rather than simply travel to do face to face rather than Zoom or Teams calls or whatever.
Yes.
So the knock-on effect of an increase in price or a drop-off in supply is absolutely enormous to the broader economy, given those multiples. And that is why the airline industry is in many cases a special case. And that is, by the way, one of the reasons why the South African government remains so determined to keep SAA afloat.
Is there then, given what I've said and what you've said in response, Guy Leach, an argument for any kind of government subsidy on aviation fuel?
No, you're asking me a personal opinion, and I'm very opposed to subsidies because they completely distort the market.
Right.
And they're not, quite frankly, they're not sustainable. You were quoting these enormous numbers of jet fuel demand in terms of the Lufthansa flight cancellations. Well, it's absolutely enormous. And another thing I'm fond of pointing out is that any subsidy of aviation is a subsidy of the rich at the expense of the poor. You know, the fact of the matter is that a developing country like South Africa really needs to be diverting its resources to basic needs rather than subsidizing airline tickets.
Thanks so much, Guy Leach, Dr. Guy Leach, aviation analyst, joining us. So I'm keen to know, by the way, as we get this churn and turbulence, no pun intended, in the aviation industry, both around pricing, around predictability, and crucially, around the availability of flights. What's happening to you? I mean, have you been affected? Maybe you're in the tourism business and you can't move clients around. Maybe you are needing to move goods between different population centers in South Africa and you've relied on air freight. And maybe you work on aeroplanes and you paid per shift. I don't know if contracts are strictly monthly contracts or whether there's a certain amount of, let me just call it, freelancing in this sector. But I can't believe this isn't hitting a lot of people. And if you're one of them, please do give me a call on 011-883-0702. I have some good news for you. Breaking news. The fuel levy relief that was used to cushion the price increases for petrol has been extended for another month. That's just come out. We were awaiting the comments of Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana. The news is good for another month at least. So, crack a smile, even if it's something of a strained one. 702 Drive.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
The Midday Report at its heart is a current affairs show, but it really is a show about everything you need to know about and everything you didn't know you needed to know about. Our listener is sharp, plugged in, curious, has developed opinions, but is still open to learning new things. My favorite part is how witty, sharp, and funny our listener is. What we cover every day is breaking news, current affairs, politics, the courts, global developments, science, education, popular culture, sports, books, and of course, good things too. I like to think of it as a lunchbox with a little bit of everything. What I love about 702 Land is that it is full of energy. There's always something happening, a developing story to follow. But it's not parochial. The 702 family cares about what is happening in the world around them and how we plug into that.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Weekdays from 12 to 1 p.m.
Mzansi, the staggering 75 million rand estimated Powerball Plus jackpot is turning up the heat this Tuesday. Today, play Powerball Plus for an estimated 75 million rand jackpot today and step closer to winning the multi-millions. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Mavis, I wonder if I should sell my car. I'm not sure where to go.
Wanna sell your car, but don't know what to do. You don't have to go far, we come to you. If you're rolling in a 1.5 or a Lekker 2.2, doesn't matter what you drive, We Buy Cars wants you.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
No one gets fit overnight. It takes discipline, and your money is no different. A Nedbank 32-day notice account helps you build financial strength with up to 7.3% interest and zero maintenance fees. The higher the deposit, the higher the return. Invest in under 2 minutes on the Money app and get money fit with Nedbank. For more information, go to nedbank.co.za. See money differently. Nedbank, we're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Now, one thing we do regularly on 702 Drive, which really does, I think, warm people's hearts, because the stories that get told are often stories of endeavor and courage and focused passion. I'm talking about the Dis-Chem Foundation. It isn't just a name attached to good intentions. It's a team of real people focused on tackling real challenges in South Africa, and they do it every single day. The range of work they do is remarkable, improving access to healthcare and education, supporting food security for families, all of it rooted in a simple idea: make the help practical and make sure it reaches the people who need it most. Now, this Thursday on 702 Drive, we'll hear directly from the team behind the work to find out what drives them, what they're seeing on the ground, and why their mission matters now more than ever in these difficult times. And do remember, please, every swipe of your Dis-Chem Better Awards makes it possible for the Dis-Chem Foundation to reach and touch lives across the country. The Dis-Chem Foundation, caring for the community. As I said, every swipe counts on 702.
This is EWN.
Brown Mogotsi lays a complaint against Madlanga evidence leader, and SIU recoups millions following lottery's commission probe. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Controversial Northwest businessman Brown Mogotsi has laid a complaint against one of the evidence leaders at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Mogotsi is claiming unfair treatment by Matthew Chaskilson. Mogotsi says during his appearance at the commission, the evidence leader sought to portray him as dishonest and untrustworthy. Mogotsi also accuses Chaskilson of manipulating evidence and having a personal vendetta against him. Speaking before the commission today, Chaskilson says he has not seen the complaint yet.
We will have to consider our position, and to respond, if there is a response necessary, I may need to seek permission to depose to an affidavit. That will take some time, and I would ask that we set a timetable for resolving this matter within reasonable time limits, and certainly not to delay the return of Mr. Mogotsi unnecessarily.
Meanwhile, the Justice Department says it does not have enough money to cover the costs of a 6-month extension of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, but Minister Mamoloko Kubai says she's already approached the Finance Minister to consider an additional budget allocation. Of the 147 million rand budgeted for the Commission, 123 million has been spent so far. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
The Justice Department is currently footing the bill for 3 inquiries. Chief Financial Officer Rapiwa Singo says at present the Madlanga and Kampepe commissions are operating well within budget, but more money will be needed to allow the Madlanga Commission to complete its work.
For the next 6 months, we have requested more funding, and that might be higher than what we initially requested because of the time frames that are tight.
Minister Mamoloko Kubai says an additional budget allocation to fund the August extension date could be made through the adjustments budget later this year.
We wanted assurance from Minister of Finance to being able to give us these resources so that we don't kill critical performance areas in the department.
However, Kubai says the Nkabinde inquiry is akin to a disciplinary process which is proving very costly.
We do have concerns about that funding because we now have to carry that cost.
She says while the Kampepe inquiry was initially underfunded, that gap has now been closed. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The Special Investigating Unit has recovered 3.2 million rand from two companies that benefited unduly from the National Lotteries Commission. The companies implicated include Todi Media Development, which received 1.5 million rand, while Zipsi Flow NPC received 1.71 million rand. President Cyril Ramaphosa first authorized the SIU to probe maladministration within the Lotteries Commission after it was found that public funds meant for community upliftment programs were being diverted for personal gain. Jabuli Lembata has more.
The latest investigations into the beneficiaries of the National Lotteries Commission have revealed that monies meant for grants of media development and a women's soccer clinic were misused. Todi Media received 1.5 million for a media project to cover journalists' accommodation, car hire and marketing. Instead, its director, Makudu Sifara, who is also currently employed as Sunday Times editor, received 550,000 rand. The second implicated company, Zipsiflo, was meant to fund a women's soccer clinic in the Free State, but instead, company directors pocketed the money, with one purchasing a property in Basonia with 900,000 rand. SIU spokesperson Selby Mahoto.
This recovery demonstrates the SIU's commitment to protecting public funds. Money meant to empower communities was instead diverted into private enrichment schemes.
The SIU says it is also obligated to refer the evidence for prosecution for the criminal conduct. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News.
March and March protesters have delivered a memorandum at the union buildings, which will now be forwarded to the President and the Home Affairs Department. The group, which marched from Burgers Park through Sunnyside, has formally handed over its list of demands to the Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Nongceba Mhlauli. The protest, which grew in numbers and caused traffic disruptions in the Pretoria CBD today, remained peaceful under heavy police guard. Mongezi Gogo reports.
The demands include tightening the definition of a refugee, introducing a first safe country policy and stricter controls on asylum seekers, student visas and work permits. The group is also calling for the revocation of trading licenses for businesses employing undocumented foreign nationals and for immigration functions to be centralized under the Border Management Authority. Government says many of these demands are already being considered as part of existing policy discussions. Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Nongceba Mhlauli.
We must also guard against being viewed as a people that don't want to live with people from other countries. I'm happy
With the handover complete, protesters are expected to disperse from the Union Buildings lawn following final remarks from leaders and officials. Mongezi Gogo, Eyewitness News at the Union Buildings.
And the United Nations says it is concerned about the millions of children who are facing extreme violence and displacement in Sudan's Darfur region. The Children's Agency says the lack of international attention to this crisis is also something to be criticized. The Sudanese army and paramilitary rapid support forces have been locked in a brutal conflict since 2023, which has killed tens of thousands of people and has displaced millions others. Since the war began, UNICEF says it's documented more than 5,700 grave violations against children across the country. Gold is trading at $4,585.21 an ounce. The rand is at 16.58 to the dollar, 22.38 to the pound, 19.40 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $109.45 a barrel.
In the traffic in Midrand, there's been an accident on the N1 North at Olifantsfontein Road, and it is slowing down traffic from New Road, while in Edenvale there's traffic pressure on the R24 West to the Galulis interchange.
In US sport, Vincent Kompany confidence in Bayern Munich's ability to rise to PSG challenge in the UEFA Champions League. John Stones announces Manchester City exit after a golden decade. And Anthony Joshua to make his boxing return in July.
A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with isolated showers and thundershowers expected. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 7 degrees, peaking at 22. Pretoria 9 and 23, and Vereeniging 7 and 21 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: controversial Northwest businessman Brown Mokhotsi has laid a complaint against one of the evidence leaders at the Malanga Commission.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, 10 minutes past 4. Great to have you with us on the show. Hopefully we've got you thinking about a road trip that you'd love to take, or looking back on a road trip that you did, because I did ask you earlier. This after the publication Auto Trader UK rated the garden route as the world's #1 road trip. They did it based on a number of things. Obviously, the extraordinary scenic beauty would have been a factor, as it is in the others that they rated in the top 10, but driving conditions as well, visibility, climate, weather patterns, and so on. So I've been asking you about your favorite road trips, and a couple of you have sent me some very interesting suggestions, including roads that I haven't been on. The garden route's a favorite. The panorama route through Mpumalanga is another favorite. I particularly, if you missed it, love the drive from Colesberg via Middelburg to Graafrenet. That's a very, very special bit of the Karoo that I really enjoy. But there are plenty of others as well. I'm sure you're able to share those with us. Please do. In a moment, we're going to be talking to Julian Rademeyer. He works with the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, and he's got some very particular thoughts about a story that many of you will have noticed yesterday. A number of Ethiopian nationals gunned down at a McDonald's in the city. And Julian Rademeyer's perspective is 5 Ethiopian nationals shot dead in targeted hits in the Joburg CBD over the past month. And he's got some views on what's going on. As I said, he's going to be with us shortly. Quite a few of you commenting on the aviation fuel issue and the impact potentially on flights, the impact as well for people who work in the aviation industry. And if you missed me highlighting it just before we went to the news, the fuel levy relief has been extended for another month. I know that you would want longer term relief, but it is, I have to say, a little bit month by month, week by week. I know we're getting fuel price increases in May, so any kind of relief will be enormously welcome. But if you've got some thoughts on that, please do drop us a note. I think some of you have started doing just that. The number to use, by the way, if you want to get in touch and share your thoughts, 072 702 1702. If you want to chat and debate and entertain us on 011 883 0702, that's the direct line, and we can put you on and we can talk.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Hi, John. You know what? Haven't traveled. Nothing brings me closer to God than the travel from the Harrismith going through to Clarence, driving through that gorgeous mountain range of the Golden Gate. Nothing beats that. Any day, I promise you. Valley from Alberton.
I'm Dr. John. One of the most scenic routes I've driven was driving from the Kruger back to Joburg using the scenic route. Oh man, that is beautiful. And then another one is from Underberg to Kokstad, or from Pietermaritzburg to Kokstad. Oh, it's a beautiful drive. Amazing.
Hey, afternoon, John. Aubrey and Fosloras. Good news indeed. The fuel relief is being extended for a month. But, John, I think they should just do like the COVID-19 relief. If the COVID-19 relief funds are still here even today, days after how long COVID has finished, this fuel relief, they must leave it just like the COVID-19 relief, the 350 or the 370, so that we all equal. Thank you, John. Some of us were not getting the COVID relief, so we want the fuel relief to continue. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for those contributions. The scenic route back from the Kruger Park. I assume you're not talking about the N4, although that's got some gorgeous bits, particularly if you go through Skumanskloof. Are you talking about going through Sabi and up the mountains to Mashishing, formerly Leidenburg? The other way, of course, is Graskop, I beg your pardon, heading in the direction of Pilgrim's Rest. And there's a gorgeous drive, actually, if you go from Acorn Hook and you go up, I can't remember the name of the pass, but you go on the road that takes you to Oorigstad. That's also a stunning piece of South Africa. Lots of roads to drive, not a lot of time. And of course, there's the fuel price to consider. But boy, I'm getting some great road trip suggestions. Please do keep those coming. It's 4:15.
EWN Traffic.
Shorter trips, perhaps less scenic, certainly nothing you would call a road trip. It's just a matter of getting home or getting wherever it is you have to be next. Kumotso Munya is going to help you out.
That is true. Thank you, John. You can start bracing yourself for those peak time delays as they start to trickle in on the usual spots, including the M1 South from the Killarney Bends to the Crown Interchange, the N12 as well as you head towards Protea Glen. And if you are heading towards the northern suburbs, you can expect some heavy delays on the M1 North. This is from Caller Drive all the way to Woodmead Drive. And if you're traveling on the N3 South, there has been an accident just before Linksfield Road, and it is causing delays from Vincent Shabalala Road. On the N1 North as well, there's been an accident at Olifantsfontein Road, and it is slowing down traffic from New Road. You can also be on the lookout for those faulty traffic lights in Woodmead at Woodmead and Woodlands, in Four Ways at Winnie Mandela Drive and Monte Casino, as well as in Blagari and at Jan Smuts and Republic. In the city of Tshwane, traffic lights are also out in Pretoria CBD at Iskiem Patlele and Blue Street, as well as Iskiem Patlele Drive and Struben Street. If you come across any other traffic, you know what to do. 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
Siviwe Gwachube, does this speak to an underlying kind of conflict that exists within your department?
No, not at all. I think for me, what other people may deem as being conflictual, I deem as being accountable. I didn't enter into government to turn a blind eye on things that go wrong. It's very important for me that I, one, am guided by the law at all times, and that I exercise my responsibilities in accordance to the Constitution at all times.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
You may or may not know the difference between a timing belt and a timing chain, but you do know a great OUTsurance deal when you see one. Get a car insurance quote now, and if OUTsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. OUTsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's and information online.
In the world of finance, manufacturing, and mining, automating business processes is a crucial factor in stimulating an organization's growth and bottom line. Zoe Projects and Consulting, a specialized process engineering and automation firm, offers comprehensive data and business systems analysis to optimize your company's processes, to save time, reduce costs, and better efficiency. Go to zoeprojects.co.za and get in touch with Zoe Projects and Consulting today.
Hey besties, DJ Zinhle here. Did you know that when you buy any 4 Knorr soups, you could win your share of R500,000 Rand? Just WhatsApp your till slip to 087-265-1280 and make it Knorr with Knorr. T's and C's apply.
When it comes to resilience, focus and strength, few South Africans embody it like Gerda Steyn. The Comrades Marathon champion and one of the toughest endurance athletes around sits down with Dr. Michael Mole for a powerful conversation that you won't want to miss. It's part of CIPLA's Health and Mind Matters, a trusted hub bringing you expert-led health conversations that you can trust. Together, they unpack mindset, pressure, physical health, and what it really takes to stay strong mentally and physically. Watch the full video now on the Prime Media Plus app or primemediaplus.com. Scroll to Prime Media Highlights and click on Health Matters.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Right, let's pick up on that story. Ethiopian nationals being shot dead in targeted hits in the Johannesburg CBD, as I mentioned earlier. According to my next guest, 5 people who fall into that descriptive category killed over the past month, and 4 of them in the last 48 hours. My guest, to remind you, is Julian Rademacher, Senior Advisor to the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized crime. Mr. Rademacher, welcome and thanks very much for your time. You refer to these as targeted hits. That would suggest organized crime is involved. Tell us what are the key things we should be looking for and at. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good to be with you again. I think what's clear with the way these hits were carried out is that they bear the hallmarks of organized crime. The shooting on Sunday night. From CCTV footage, you see the gunman walk through or shoulder his way through a crowd to the victim, approach him from behind, raise the gun, fire a single shot into his head, and then fire a double tap shot into him as he lies on the ground. That incident was followed barely 24 hours later by the killings of 3 other Ethiopian nationals. And last month, another Ethiopian businessman was targeted in a parking garage in central Johannesburg and gunned down. The exact motives for this remains unclear. There has been some speculation and media reporting that this could be linked to a kidnapping case, which is currently before the courts. It could also potentially have links to human trafficking, and there are suggestions of extortion.
So let's talk about the human trafficking element of it, Julian Rademacher, because I'm looking at your thread on X, and do follow Julian there, by the way, at Julian Rademacher. You talk about a surge in kidnapping and human trafficking cases involving Ethiopian nationals in Joburg, and some of them, for example, would be matters that we've covered on the radio station. 12 young adults found half naked in a house in Malbarton. There was a case in Parkmore, in Sandton, and Lombardy East. I think that goes back a couple of months. But this is already making the news. Tell us why you think there may be a connection between this and that.
Well, I think that, the suggestion in this case that there may be a link to human trafficking or potentially to kidnapping. And there's a big flow of Ethiopian nationals down along the so-called southern human smuggling and human trafficking route into South Africa. These are primarily Ethiopians who are smuggled to South Africa for economic opportunities, but their journey, and it's an incredibly perilous journey, sometimes taking up to 6 months to complete, crosses the line often between human smuggling and human trafficking.
Right.
It starts off as human smuggling. People pay huge amounts of money, as much as $5,000, possibly more, to brokers who are promising them jobs in South Africa or elsewhere in Southern Africa. People begin to move along that, but then the coercion, violence, forced labor, all of those begin to emerge. Some of these people are held hostage for months until family members pay the money that they owe the brokers or pay money to have them released. And many of them then end up applying for asylum in South Africa. So it's a very ugly, brutal trade. Dozens, hundreds, possibly even thousands of people have died. There was a truly horrific incident, for instance, in Malawi, where around 30 Ethiopian nationals were found buried were dumped in a forest after they'd suffocated in the back of a vehicle while being transported. So there's a lot at stake here. It's a high-value, very dangerous, very risky operation, and it's one of the leading types of organized crime in that dominates in Ethiopia. Much of it fueled by instability and by conflict.
So one of the things that what you've told us is horrific enough, but obviously what complicates things, for example, if we use a parallel with drug smuggling syndicates, is when there are rivalries that then explode into what may be the kind of violence that we've just seen in Joburg over the past 48 hours. Is this a competitive and contested space between different syndicates in Ethiopia who may well be connected to other forms of illegality as well?
Very much so. I mean, there are quite a number of syndicates operating from Ethiopia and also from Malawi. I mentioned the Malawi refugee camp. There's been a strong syndicate that's been going there in the Dzaleka camp for some time, smuggling huge numbers of people to South Africa. There are a number of other networks operating from Ethiopia. And then there is some convergence with local groups. And it's unfortunately one of the things about the southern route to South Africa. It's one of the most undocumented human smuggling routes. We know a lot more about the routes into the UAE or the routes into Europe, because that's pretty much where a lot of the funding for research has gone. Not so much has been looked at the Southern Africa route.
In terms then of how law enforcement in South Africa starts dealing with it, because I would have thought that, if it was a South African-based syndicate, and particularly if there were South Africans involved, there would be, I would imagine, various toeholds where you could start developing crime intelligence. Much more difficult if you look, first of all, at the huge distance between here and the country of origin of these syndicates. But secondly, if these are tight communities, I would have thought penetrating them is complex.
Yeah, it's extraordinarily complex. And, add to that the fact that, the disarray within police crime intelligence, which is playing out at the Madlanga Commission and elsewhere, we are simply operating blind. There doesn't seem to be that much knowledge. Very often when people are found, locked up in houses in Johannesburg, in one case, I think there were 90 people rescued in 2024, 100 in 2023. There's another case of around 40. That is very often local residents or private security who find people. In one case, some of the victims had escaped and were wandering the streets, still naked. In another case, security guards heard people screaming. It's very much a reactive type of operation that goes from there. We haven't seen particularly high-level prosecutions or infiltration of these networks, and I think it is very difficult. But these networks do operate and need to operate with assistance from South African nationals. None of them can operate in isolation.
Yes.
They need access to people who can move money, who can help corrupt officials, who can help them, obtain travel documents, a range of things. And it does seem clear in these cases, or at least the Sunday night case, that the hitmen were local South Africans who carried out, or were Southern Africans.
Yeah, boy, complicated, but lots more clarity than we had 7, 8, 9 minutes ago before we spoke to our guest. Julian Rademacher is a senior advisor to the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime. 27 minutes past 4.
You're with John Perlman
on 702. EWN Business.
Right, let's get the very latest eyewitness news business from Stephen Curtis. A very good afternoon to you.
Afternoon to you, John. All about oil today in so many different ways. You would have known the extension of the fuel levy relief. In other words, the fuel levy will not be reimposed until July. When it comes back, though, John, it's going to hurt. In the meantime, though, for diesel users, which is quite a large number of people, there will be a little bit more relief over the next little while, simply because the impact on diesel prices has been so much higher. In effect, the fuel levy on diesel will be reduced to zero. 17.2 billion rand is what it's going to cost government by the time all of this is done. This is in what's described as foregone tax. At the same time, we've got the United Arab Emirates pulling out of OPEC and OPEC Plus, and then we also have more concerns about future oil supplies, and that's really pushed oil prices up to really just under $112 a barrel, and that, of course, having the impact you would expect it to have on stock exchanges around the world, including our own. The JSE All Share down 1.59%, 114,713 points. Financials up 0.75, industrials down 0.74, and then resources down 4.8. So platinum and gold prices are weaker. Gold's down nearly 2.5% on the day, and that's having the impact you would expect it to have. Sibania's down 6.6, Goldfields down nearly 6, Anglo Gold down 5.63, Implat's down 5.5, all of them down. Anglo down 4.17% on a day in which they put out a quarterly update. They did say that they're talking to 3 different companies to buy their coal assets. That's ahead of their merger with Teck, Stanmore Resources, Mitsubishi, and PT Buma International are the 3 mentioned. Anglo's coal production, their steel-making coal production was down by 31% in the quarter to the end of March. Copper production was up 2%. They still expect that merger to be finalized between September and March next year. Kumba Iron Ore, part of Anglo, of course, been able to secure, saying today it's been able to secure its routes to markets in Asia and Europe, won't be interrupted by the conflict in the Middle East. Their production was 2% lower over the period, but that was really to accommodate planned maintenance by Transnet. No point producing the stuff if you can't transport it, and so that was all expected. They've also received their first wheeled power from a private company. We see that Tungela, as you would expect in the energy space, they're up 4.5%. Sasol's been up for much of the day as well. Capitec are up 2.23%. AB InBev, a good defensive stock, up nearly 2%. And then Spar, they're up 0.92%. They've made a couple of good hires over the last few weeks, John, and I think the market getting a little bit more interested in what's happening around Spar. In the US, so the Nasdaq was down when it opened. The S&P and the Dow seem to be okay. So more concerns about artificial intelligence, whether it really will deliver meaningful growth for tech stocks, and that's had a bit of an impact there. And so we see now that the Nasdaq is still down on the day. They've obviously just opened at the moment, but you can see, of course, that they don't seem to be doing quite so well, while the Dow is slightly stronger. The gold price, $4,570.85. Platinum, $1,947.20. Brent crude, $111.19, and the rand to the dollar, 16.56, to the euro, 19.37, to the British pound, 22.35. Stephen Crotus, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. 29 minutes to 5. Let's get the very latest eyewitness news. Here's Mbali Dlamini.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has extended the R3 per litre reduction in the fuel levy for petrol until June. The minister has also increased the reprieve for diesel by 93 cents, bringing it to R3.93 a litre. This means the relief for the diesel levy is now at zero. Figures from the Central Energy Fund show that diesel will likely rise by R5.42, while 95 petrol is set to increase by more than R2 a litre in May. In a statement, Godongwana says the temporary relief is aimed at taming the anticipated higher inflation on the back of higher oil prices. Oil prices have spiked on the back of renewed concerns regarding the conflict in the Middle East. The Gauteng Education Department has set aside almost R4 billion for the construction of schools over the next 3 years. The project is aimed at alleviating the pressure on public schools in the province after multiple complaints of overcrowding. The department says it needs about R35 billion to get out of the red, which amounts to half of its annual budget. Alfa Ramashwana reports.
Gauteng has around 2,100 public schools, but they've become insufficient to accommodate the growing number of primary and high school learners. Statistics show that 48% of schools in the province are overcrowded, with the growth in teacher numbers not matching the enrollment of pupils. Gauteng Education MEC Lebogang Maile says nearly R4 billion has been allocated for school construction, but says this will only scratch the surface.
Within this period, 1.9 billion is allocated specifically for new schools, whereas the budget for replacement schools stands at 1.8 billion. The Gauteng Department of Education is accelerating the delivery of the brick and mortar schools through various programs and partnerships.
He says the province is working with the Development Bank of Southern Africa to build new schools in the province. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
IPID's deputy head in the Western Cape, Mario September, has testified as a witness for the defence in the trial of alleged underworld gang boss Nafiz Modak today. September says police are still being investigated for the murder of top cop Charles Kinnear. September was in the witness dock in the Western Cape High Court today. Modak, who is on trial along with 14 others, faces 122 charges, including the murder of Kinnear in 2020. Carlo Peterson has more.
IPID's deputy provincial head in the Western Cape, Mario September, told the court he's the head of a task team investigating certain police officers for possible involvement in Charles Kinnear's murder. September says among the officers being probed was Major General Andre Lincoln, who passed away due to illness August last year. Lincoln, who was Kinnear's superior and a previous witness in the Modak matter, came under scrutiny for removing Kinnear's security detail just months before his murder. Presiding Judge Robert Henney questioned September about the relevance of his evidence against Lincoln.
I think that, my Lord, from our investigation, the platform was there for the crime to be committed.
September told the court IPID's investigation into the murder of Kinnear is still ongoing. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News, Western Cape High Court.
While in Saudi Arabia, leaders and officials from across the Gulf have arrived to discuss the ongoing crisis in the region. The crisis has been triggered by the US-Israeli war against Iran. The talks come as the White House considers Iran's latest proposal to end the conflict and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Iran launched attacks targeting the Gulf states in response to US and Israeli strikes on the Islamic Republic that began on February the 28th. A partly cloudy afternoon in store for Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 22 and 23 degrees.
In the traffic, if you're leaving Sandton, expect those peak time delays on the N3 South from Marlborough Drive to the Galulis interchange. Meanwhile, traffic is still congested on the M1 North from Collett Drive all the way to Woodmead Drive.
A top story in EWN, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has extended the R3 a litre reduction in the fuel levy for petrol until June.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
My show is about getting you informed by the time you get to the office, your place of business, or wherever you need to go. Hopefully, you have a fairly good idea what's happening in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and around the world. We want you to be part of those water cooler conversations, and you will be part of those conversations because you'll be a better informed citizen. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is the ecosystem that we have built, the community. It's all about connection because we may be different, but ultimately the people you talk to and the people you hear are facing issues just like you.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa, weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
Will you survive the AI revolution or thrive? Regenesis presents the School of AI, the first of its kind in Africa, powered by 100 world-class AI experts delivering cutting-edge training, consulting, and real-world AI solutions. Regenesis has embedded compulsory AI modules across all their programs and 12 of their schools, from business and law to education and technology. Join the movement now. Enroll at regenesis.net. Regenesis, one institution leading the way.
Let's count backward. 5, insurance. 4, pineapple. 3, insurance. 2, pineapple. 1, you're under.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
It's another girl! Yes! Families multiply, fees shouldn't. With Ultimate Banking, you get support for every chapter. Get discounted banking for your spouse and give each of your children a head start with a Mega U account. Because as your family grows, your banking should keep up. Apply online. Your story matters. ABSA. Terms and conditions apply. ABSA is an authorized financial services provider.
Coming up next on the afternoon drive, we're wrapping up the 2026 702 MTN Small Business Awards with a conversation with Dr. Nkosi Khumalo, GM for SME and Indirect Channels at MTN Business, about this year's awards and the role they played in making them a success. Don't miss that.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hey, good afternoon, John. Good afternoon, listeners. Jimmy from Forest. Well, the issue of petrol subsidy extended to another month, it's a good thing. But this exactly, it shows how crucial it is for the government not to misuse funds and ensure that people that are looking after the government funds, any entity in the government, they must put the right people for such development. Presidential, when they arise, they can be tackled with. So if money was not looted, I think at this moment we would have some extra cash to be able to have maybe a 1-year subsidy. Who knows? I mean, corruption has put us into a very, very difficult position. Jimmy from Foster, thank you.
John, I'm commuting back from the office now, and I'm in Pretoria, and things are just becoming absolutely unbearable with all the potholes. This entire Pretoria East is riddled with potholes. Every day there's a new one. They don't get fixed by the municipality. There are vagrants that are throwing soil in these potholes and asking for small change, a business opportunity. The municipality is simply not doing their job. I don't know what's going on. They purport to be delivering services, but they're not. Please, can you get the mayor on of City of Tshwane and just quiz on this? This is just unbelievably bad.
Yeah, it's bad in Pretoria and it's bad in Johannesburg as well. I mean, in the area where I live, just huge sections, never mind the potholes, huge sections of paving and road have been dug up. And yesterday, I've commented before, by the way, on how regularly I see activity over weekends and on public holidays. Yesterday, there were 3 people on one of these big holes in the ground, 3 of them. Nobody else there working with them. And what was most striking was they had absolutely no tools, nothing to work with, not a spade in sight. So, I mean, the problems are a problem, but when the solutions start becoming a problem as well, then the problem is even bigger than we thought. I hope that made sense to you. Makes sense to me. 702 Drive, it's 19 minutes to 5.
EWN Sport.
Right, let's get the very latest from Tolakele Mganga. Boy, is there a Champions League match tonight. PSG are a sight to behold, Tolakele. I don't know what you think. So are Bayern, actually.
Absolutely, John. And the holders take on Bayern in the first leg of the UEFA Champions League semi-final this evening. The two sides are the leading scorers with 38 goals each. And Vincent Kompany has discussed his side's impressive showing in front of goal this campaign.
We can talk about goals and philosophy and everything you want, but you need guys who can put a ball in the back of the net no matter what. And you need a goalkeeper who can make saves, and you need a centre-back who heads the ball and tackles and loves doing it. The reality is you need the quality, and these players have quality. Also, they have the hunger to continue, and that's how you achieve these numbers.
John Stones says he's lived out all his dreams at Manchester City after confirming that he'll leave the club at the end of the season. Stones has made 293 appearances since joining from Everton in 2016, and he helped City win several trophies, including 6 Premier League titles and the UEFA Champions League. The England defender was Pep Guardiola's second signing at City and is the latest long-serving player to exit the Etihad Stadium. That's after the departures of Kevin De Bruyne, Kyle Walker and Edison last season, while captain Bernardo Silva will leave when his contract expires in June. Switching over to cricket, where Lotto Valvat has described the Proteas Women's T20 series win over India as the perfect preparation ahead of the World Cup in June. South Africa delivered a commanding performance over the 5-match series as they won 4 of the 5 fixtures that were played over an 11-day period. The Proteas women won the final T20 by 23 runs, and the captain has praised the work done by the bowling unit.
I think our spinners were very good today. Chloe and Lefty were excellent. Just the way that we were able to keep them quiet in the first 10 overs. It looked like they were trying to force it through but just couldn't, and just more and more pressure built. And then when they finally sort of had to go at the end, I think we held our nerve nicely. So very impressed with that effort today.
And former world heavyweight boxing champions Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury have signed up for a long-awaited Battle of Britain clash later this year. The announcement came after confirmation that Joshua will return to the ring against Christian Prenga, that's in Riyadh on July 25th, in his first fight since he was involved in a car accident last December that killed 2 of his closest friends. Prenga is a former kickboxer with a ring record of 20 wins and 1 defeat. That's since he turned professional back in 2016. Tolakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Okay, let's catch up with what's happening out on the roads and get the very latest from Khomotso. What's happening?
Thank you, John. If you are heading towards Midrand, traffic remains sluggish on the N1 North. This is as you approach New Road. In the opposite direction, the N1 South is experiencing some peak time delays from Beyers Nodia to the 14th Avenue. If you are leaving Sandton, there's a stationary vehicle on the N3 South just after Vincent Shabalala Road, and it is adding to those peak time delays. Traffic remains congested on the M1 North from Kolo Drive all the way through to Woodmead Drive. Look out for faulty traffic lights in Blagari at Jan Smuts and Republic, in Edenvale at Modderfontein and Van Riebeek, as well as in Rand Park Ridge at the N1 North and Beyers Nodia. Traffic lights are also out in the city of Tshwane in Monument Park at the R21 and Solomon Mahlangu Drive, as well as in Centurion at Old Johannesburg and Brakfontein. I'll have more updates at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, 4:45. I saw a very interesting story on the Business Day site. Tamar Khan, who writes a lot about health and science and related matters and the connections between the two, highlights a study carried out at the University of Stellenbosch's Research on Socioeconomic Policy Unit. Bit of a mouthful there, but University of Stellenbosch, the unit that does research on socioeconomic policy. Now, the study looked at children who start school very, very young. They enter grade 1 at the earliest possible age. And the study has found that, in fact, these kids are more likely to repeat the year, tend to have lower marks, more pronounced for boys, and certainly more pronounced for children from poorer schools. The study notes, of course, that parents who don't have money for childcare and who are looking for a safe space for their children, particularly a safe space where they could be and should be provided with a decent meal, are doing this for a range of reasons other than educational and pedagogical. Nevertheless, it raises some interesting questions. We might look into it in a little bit more detail. But I was struck by this question more broadly and perhaps away from some of the harsh realities that determine decisions like that and shape the choices people make. A broader question. Have you ever been the youngest person, youngest in your class, youngest in a group of friends, youngest in a large extended family, youngest perhaps in a football or cricket team or a dance group or anything like that? How did it affect you? And I'm not, by the way, equating this directly to a year in school, which is a more complicated timeline. Nevertheless, they're very interesting studies about, for example, sports people who have excelled, who were the youngest in their families or played sport against older boys or girls. So I'm just wondering what your experience has been, if any, of being the youngest, possibly being the smallest as well. Did it bring out a determination in you? Did you learn from the hard knocks, or did it actually prove to set you back in the kind of ways that the Stellenbosch study is suggesting are quite widespread? Tola Kelly, youngest, have you been in that situation, and did you survive? Did you thrive?
I'm trying to I don't think I've actually been the youngest anything, but
Okay.
I also feel like it's when you're in that position where there's no one in your age group that you can really relate to, it forces a certain level of resilience that no one else can understand, and only you can pull that out in you. So I kind of get on one hand in the sense that they do thrive, but I also think, like you mentioned, where sometimes the parents kind of use it as an alternative if they can't find childcare, and
Right.
like, okay, let's take the risk. Is your child really ready?
Mm.
Because even though you can't afford it, it's such a scary experience, especially when you're much older and then you have to share with your peers that, oh, I had to repeat this grade. All of a sudden, there's also that extra judgment that comes later on in life that kind of makes it seem like there was something wrong with the child themselves. But also, if you can't afford childcare as a parent, what other options do you have than kind of saying, learn the system, I'll be there for you at the end of the day, but
Right.
you have to study, you have to figure out how to get into a school environment and perform to the best of your ability.
Yeah, it's interesting. How about you, Khomotso? Have you ever been the the youngest in a group, in a pack, in a classroom, in a team, in a dance group?
Yeah, you're taking me way, way back. When I was really young, I had friends in my street who were much older than me, 5
Yes.
years difference. And the benefit that I had there is that every time we used to play games, I was always the all saver, which means I was never really on any.
Yes.
I was never really on any side. So I was always in the game, which was really exciting. But also, I think the lesson, or rather the blessing in that, is that every other thing that they learned ahead of me, I caught up quite quickly.
Yeah.
So by the time I went to grade 1 and I had friends, I could ride a bike because I had older friends who were already teaching me that. So I think it does have its pros and cons, John.
Very interesting. I'd like to hear from the youngest, either the youngest in the family, the youngest in the team, like Khumotso, the youngest on the block in a group of friends. How did it affect you? And were there difficulties that you mastered and used them to fuel your determination? Or maybe there's stories of it being way, way tougher than that. Call me on that on 072 702 1702. And maybe we'll look at that Stellenbosch study on its own terms a little bit later in the week. 10 minutes to 5.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, one of the highlights of the last few weeks really has been the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. We, in your company, of course, have heard from some fabulous, fabulous entrepreneurs. Last week, we had a great evening of celebration and acknowledgement of the 10 finalists. And, of course, you would have heard, if you didn't, the winners being interviewed on Bongani Bingwa's show in the morning. If you missed that, go to primemediaplus.com. Boy, did they have a story to tell. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards have come to a close. We're taking a moment to reflect on just how important small businesses are, not just to the economy, but to the future that we are trying to build as a country. Because while SMEs continue to drive innovation, create jobs and grow communities, they're also navigating a world that's becoming more complex and more digital by the day. And that's where MTN Business has really positioned itself, not just as a connectivity provider, but as a partner to SMEs. The awards have been a powerful extension of that, celebrating the resilience, ingenuity, and the impact of small businesses, and more importantly, reinforcing MTN's commitment to walking that journey with them. So, to look back on the awards of 2026, but crucially, look ahead to the what next, we're joined now by Dr. Nkosi Khumalo, GM of SME and Indirect Channels at MTN Business, and to look as well at what comes next for SMEs. Dr. Khumalo, welcome. It's great to have you with us on the show once again.
Dr. John, yellow to you and all your listeners.
So, yeah, Doc, I want to ask you about the judging, because you were there with Buteo Khwaripe, and you really got not only to engage with the idea, but to engage with the thinking and the thoughts behind the idea, and of course, crucially, with the people whose ideas they were. I mean, what for you stood out about that process? Because it must have been a fascinating few hours.
No, it was definitely fascinating. Look, I mean, it's the third year now we have been doing this jointly with 702. And I think this time around, the quality of the finalists for me really, really just stood out. I was very happy to see predominantly most of them coming from the township and, in different fields, the consumer space, the medical space, manufacturing and education. And what also impressed me the most is how these youngsters are using the power of online capabilities made available to them, So I definitely think that this time around, my heart is sunk even deeper.
Yes.
Just really immersing myself in the impact that we are making in these youngsters.
I want just a brief thought from you about our winner. People who didn't hear Bongani's interview with Khonse Silaotwe, who created the company All Day Jam. Please go and look at that on Prime Media Plus, as I said. But the competition was strong, but a jam processor, Khonse must have done something to tip the balance.
Yeah, look, I mean, Khonse, topped the chart. I mean, it was quite a competition jam-packed, pun intended, jam-packed with
Yes.
people who've got skill. And yeah, I mean, he came out tops. Look, what really impressed me about Khonse is the fact that, against all odds, a guy who grew up in Orange Farm, a place that is littered with dump sites, and he saw beyond the dump site, cleaned out the dump site, planted a vegetable garden, and started processing all those veggies that are coming from there to a point where he actually manufactured a jam, stealing his granny's idea of how they used to make jam for themselves for their own home.
Right.
And today he's got a production plant, he's got a manufacturing processing capability, he's got people that he has employed. And, him winning this, for me, really said at the amount of revenue that he's generating, the opportunity that is just before him, and the hindrance from a scale point of view that is actually before him, I thought it was absolutely proper that he becomes the winner. And he obviously gets to expand leveraging on Talk 702 platform from an advertising point of view, because this is in the consumer space. And I think it is quite fitting. I mean, it fits the profile of the product, it fits the consumer profile who are actually buying his product. And yeah,
Right.
I think when we speak to him after a year, we are going to have a very different conversation with this young man.
Well,
The energy there, amazing.
Let's talk about that year, Doc, and go beyond Khonse and look more broadly at the SME sector. This is obviously a flagship project. It's a special moment, but there's a much bigger thing going on at MTN. Say a little bit more about that, because people don't necessarily have to win a competition to take advantage of some of the innovation that you guys are involved with.
Look, I think I just want to use the finalists that me and Moteo judge just to kind of like give you a sense of what we're dealing with
Right.
and what actually just pushes us as MTN to really come in and help. If you look at the judging criteria that we put in place, it was obviously about 5 of them. And I think the lowest scoring points across all these different criterion, you are looking at the scale. People are obviously hamstrung by scale. They need access to funding, they cannot scale, and they are not interacting with their customers the way they want. This is where the technology comes in to actually help them scale, right? So they can actually operate beyond the area where they operate. They can actually interact with their customers, leveraging on capabilities MTN has actually built for them, like our engagement services products that allows you to have multiple interactions with customers. So in essence, what I'm trying to drive at is the common problem small businesses have. We are gearing up as MTN and positioning ourselves to really build propositions, build solutions that actually takes the small businesses out of the plight that they are currently faced with. John, small businesses fail in numbers.
Yes.
Some of our research that we look at, it's 63% of these businesses do not make it past the second year of operation for various reasons. And one of the topping reasons is compliance issues and also, access to funding. And we are basically saying when they leverage on the power of digitization, accessing and embracing fintech solutions to actually create a profile of their credit scoring, etc., there is a chance that you are giving them. I mentioned that most of them are coming from the township environment.
Yes.
And a lot of businesses in the township do not use the power of digital capabilities. There's still a lot of cash that is exchanging hands. And we are trying to come in and really, have a purposeful engagement there to see how we can help these businesses to actually, be visible,
right,
grow, and be fundable.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nkosi Khumalo, joining us from MTN Business, where he is the GM of SME and Indirect Channels. We all know that hustle, trying and yet battling to reach the right customers. That's how a lot of businesses start. And your marketing budget can only take you so far. With MTN Business, you don't have to rely on just one channel anymore. You can reach your customers wherever they are through WhatsApp marketing, bulk SMSs, and other digital tools. So instead of battling, reach the right consumers with MTN digital tools. Let's talk shop. Click on mtn.co.za/business or visit an MTN store today. MTN Business, Africa's leading enabler of connectivity and converged solutions.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Yesterday, the 27th of April, has become a public holiday for us to reflect and enjoy our democracy. It is Freedom Day, and we received well wishes from all over the world, including from the United States. It was a brief statement from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, but it read, "On behalf of the United States of America, I extend warm greetings to the people of South Africa as you commemorate Freedom Day. Over 3 decades since South Africa's democratic transition, this occasion provides an opportunity to reflect on the country's history and future as we look ahead."
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an unmistakable rhythm that brings us all together. In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi to unite the whole of Joburg in the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babize Bonke. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going on a walk through the iconic Joburg CBD, and we want you to join us and be a part of something truly special. Entries open soon. In the meantime, stay tuned to 702 and get ready for the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Jozi. Babize Bonke. More on primemediaplus.com.
It's 6 a.m. in Kenya. Victor's little sister starts high school today, but her fees need to be paid first. Back in Jozi, Victor logs onto the Absa banking app and sends her money and a little extra for lunch. It arrives instantly.
Your money makes their world go round. Send cash to 18 countries across the world with Absa Global Pay. It's safe, instant, and affordable. Your story matters. Absa is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Bar Black Sheep. Have you any wool? Yes, sir. More than 3 bags full. We think beyond today, tomorrow, more. Look up, look far ahead. We may choose to leave the herd. There's greener grass where fewer care to tread. Bar Black Sheep. Proof of what we do. Better for clients for over 20 years. Courage, we hold the course for you. Bar Black Sheep. If you want more wool, it takes black sheep thinking. Camissa Asset Management. Invest different. Camissa Asset Management is a licensed FSP.
Mzansi, the staggering 75 million rand estimated Powerball Plus jackpot is turning up the heat this Tuesday. Play Powerball Plus for an estimated 75 million rand jackpot today and step closer to winning the multi-millions. Buy your tickets now in-store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
This is EWN.
The Finance Minister extends the fuel levy reprieve, and was state money used to hire a nanny for a minister's grandchildren? Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has extended the R3 a litre reduction in the fuel levy for petrol until June. The minister has also increased the reprieve for diesel by 93 cents, bringing it to R3.93 a litre. Figures from the Central Energy Fund show that diesel will likely increase by R5.42, while 95 petrol is set to increase by more than R2 a litre in May. In a statement, Godongwana says the temporary relief is aimed at taming the anticipated high inflation on the back of higher oil prices. Oil prices have spiked on the back of renewed concerns regarding the conflict in the Middle East. Controversial Northwest businessman Brown Mokhotsi has laid a complaint against one of the evidence leaders at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Mokhotsi is claiming unfair treatment by Matthew Chaskelson. Mokhotsi says during his appearance at the commission, the evidence leader sought to portray him as dishonest and untrustworthy. Mokhotsi also accuses Chaskelson of manipulating evidence and having a personal vendetta against him. Speaking before the commission today, Chaskelson says he has not yet seen the complaint.
We will have to consider our position, and to respond, if there is a response necessary, I may need to seek permission to depose to an affidavit. That will take some time, and I would ask that we set a timetable for resolving this matter within reasonable time limits, and certainly not to delay the return of Mr. Mokhotsi unnecessarily.
The National Prosecuting Authority says it intends to present a strong case against suspended EMPD Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi and Ekurhuleni City Manager Kagiso Lerutla when they eventually go on trial. The two senior officials were granted bail of 30,000 rand each by the Boksburg Magistrates Court today. They are facing charges including corruption, fraud and defeating the ends of justice, while Mkhwanazi is facing another charge of illegal possession of ammunition. The charges are in connection to an alleged scheme in which Lerutla paid 400,000 rand to have a third party impersonate him by appearing in court. Dimakatso Leshoro reports.
There was applause from inside court after Magistrate Mahampa delivered his judgment, granting Julius Mkhwanazi and Kagiso Lerutla bail. Even though the accused indicated they could only afford 10,000 rand bail, Mahampa cited the seriousness of the Schedule 5 charges they are facing in setting the higher bail amount. The state has retained the accused cell phones, stating they form part of ongoing investigations. Lerutla, who is currently on special leave, could face suspension after the council meeting on Thursday. Meanwhile, in a separate matter, Mkhwanazi has been linked to the theft of precious stones valued at 45 million rand, facilitating the illegal use of blue lights by alleged crime boss Vusimuzi Ket Matlala, as well as involvement in the death of Marius van der Merwe, known as Witness D. It's not clear if the confiscated cell phones will be used to link him to any of these allegations. Dimakatso Leshoro, Eyewitness News.
Social Development Minister Sisisi Tolashe is expected to be called before Parliament to explain new allegations against her, this time involving the alleged abuse of state funds to employ a nanny to look after her grandchildren. In an ongoing investigation into Tolashe's conduct, today the Daily Maverick revealed that Tolashe may have hired a public servant to work in her official residence under false pretenses. Lindsay Dentlinger takes a look.
With Minister Sisisi Tolashe already under investigation for having ostensibly redirected a donation of vehicles meant for the ANC Women's League to her children, Tolashe now stands accused of duping a state employee to work in her private household in East London. According to the Daily Maverick report, the woman who believed she was being appointed as a food aide to work in Tolashe's official residence was also made to pay up to half her monthly state salary to Tolashe's daughter to cover expenses in the home where she was performing nanny duties. Chairperson of Parliament's Portfolio Committee, Bridget Masango, says the committee views the abuse of public money very seriously. It will now formally request a briefing from the department and the minister herself. The DA's Nazli Sharif says she's asked the Public Service Commission to investigate the latest allegations against Tolashe.
These allegations add to a growing list of scandals, while the Department of Social Development continues to fail the most vulnerable.
Meanwhile, the Sunday Times reported that Tolashe has since returned the donated vehicles to Luthuli House. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And the United Arab Emirates has announced its decision to withdraw from OPEC and OPEC Plus oil cartels. In a statement, the UAE says it wants to focus on national interests. The UAE, which is one of the world's top oil producers, which has previously balked at OPEC production quotas, will pull out on Friday. Gulf oil shipments are currently under strain due to Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, which flows past the UAE and normally carries 1/5 of the world's oil. Gold is trading at $4,562.54 an ounce. The rand is at 16.60 to the dollar, 22.40 to the pound, 19.42 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $109.45 a barrel.
In the traffic, as you leave Sandton, give yourself some extra time on the N3 South as those peak time delays from the Butlu interchange all the way to Galuli's interchange increase. And in Edenvale, expect pressure on the R24 West approaching the Galuli's interchange.
In your sport, PSG chase 100th UEFA Champions League win as they take on Bayern Munich in the semi-finals. Brazil's Militao to miss the World Cup after hamstring surgery. And Yannick Sinner extends his ATP winning streak to 20 matches.
A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 7 degrees, peaking at 22. Pretoria 9 and 23 and Vereniging 7 and 21 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has extended the 3 rand a litre reduction in the fuel levy for petrol until June.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
on 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 10 minutes past 5. It's good to have you with us on the show. Coming up over the next half an hour or so, we're going to go to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Another very important day of digging. Questions asked, answers offered, all of it, again, focusing on the Tshwane Metro and in particular the Tshwane Metro Police Department. Tabiso Goba, our EWN colleague, has been keeping a close eye on that. He's going to be joining us shortly to just update us on what happened in today's session at the Madlanga Commission. And then after that, a story that broke this morning, or it was broken this morning by News 24. And News 24 has highlighted the fact that a company with no publishing history, to cite their headline, gets the lion's share of a 1.6 billion rand textbook tender. We're going to look into that a little bit more closely when we talk to spokesperson for the Department of Basic Education. Minister of that department, Sibiwe Gwachube, has asked National Treasury to look into what's happened here. They are expressing their concern and say there needs to be more digging. Questions will be asked those, how did this get through the system in the first place? Spokesperson Lucanio Vanka will be joining us at about 20 minutes past 5. We asked the question, if you were the youngest in your school or in your class or in your family or in your football or netball team or simply just the youngest kid on the block, how did that affect you? Did you find yourself intimidated, daunted, and maybe a little bit lacking in confidence, something that could have affected you later on in your life? Or did it bring out the determined you? Some of you have shared your thoughts on that. Quite a few thoughts on potholes and the fuel price as well. Let's take a few of those. They come in on 072 702 1702. And you can communicate with us yourself using that number.
Afternoon, Dr. John and team. Yeah, no, in school I used to be the youngest. I went to school at the age of 5.5 in 1984. So yeah, I was the youngest. But I was doing well until I finished school.
Good afternoon, John. Quite a very interesting topic. I also started school very young. I started at the age of turning 5 and on that year, and I finished school when I was 16 years old. I must say it was quite harder when entering the varsity, tertiary level. And I remember just being a 16-year-old hit by adolescent, and I couldn't cope with the challenges that I encountered. However, I only got, back to my feet when I was like 20 years old. Only then I could be able to go back to tertiary. So it does have definitely impact.
Hi, John. It's Lyndon here in Kyalami. I have a younger sister whom went to school so early in life. I don't even know what were the reasons, but it could have been one of the reasons you've counted. And then she completed and then she went to tertiary. I mean, my gosh, she was the youngest child. Even now, she's called Mangane because some of the lecturers, that's what they were calling her. Then everyone else around her called her that. You would not believe that she's been working for something like she's approaching 15 years, and then she's young, but then you can tell that she started everything very, very young. Thank God that she managed, but it's something that I wouldn't do for my child. But of course, like we do acknowledge that some parents do it because they don't have choices. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for those. Now, the other thing I invited you to comment on was the March in Tshwane today. The activist group, also accompanied by a number of political parties, Action SA, the MK party were there. I think the African Transformation Movement involved. And I asked you if you had a view on the issues that were raised. This is quite long from Vo. I'm not going to read every single word, but I will be sure to convey to you the full sentiment of what he's saying. And this is a thing he addresses to the president of the country. He says, Mr. President, we are concerned about spaza shops, jobs like petrol attendants, drugs, prostitution, building, hijacks, cars going to Mozambique, undocumented immigrants. Everyone has their limits, Mr. President. As long as you're not acting on this issue, you risk the rise of xenophobia. Respect and protect the citizens of South Africa. Your hand is not firm enough. Vol goes on to say, please stop using irrelevant words like hate and xenophobia. This action has nothing to do with hatred or xenophobia. It has a lot to do with government's failure to protect the country and failure to listen to the citizens. We are suffocated by foreigners. We can't stop people from coming into the country, but we can do much more in enforcing the law and our bylaws. Please listen to us, he concludes. We don't hate anyone, but we hate the fact that the country is suffering because government is choosing to ignore our pain and ignore our suffering. So that's a point of view expressed by Vo, and maybe you want to respond to that as well. 16 minutes past 5.
EWN Traffic.
Right, let's get the very latest from the roads. This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. We were just saying, not as busy as we would expect on a Tuesday. Some people making the most of a Monday and a Friday holiday, perhaps.
Indeed, John. We'll start on the M1 North, which seems to be heavily backed up from Collet Drive right through to Woodmead Drive. In the opposite direction, the M1 South is not so bad, experiencing slight delays. This is from Oxford Road to the Crown Interchange. Over in Edenvale, you can still expect some pressure on the R24. This is as you approach the Gilulis Interchange. And in the Deep Kloof Interchange, there's also slow-moving traffic. This is on the N12 West as you head towards Baragwane. Look out for faulty traffic lights in Woodmead at Woodmead and Woodlands, in Kyalami at the R55 in Main, and over in the capital city, traffic lights are also out in Pretoria CBD at Iskiampatlele and Blood Street, as well as Iskiampatlele Drive and Struben Street. I'll be back with the next updates in just a bit.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Sitting in a traffic jam is as fun as standing in the longest queue at the department only for the computer to be offline. Why today? But fortunately, the Outsurance pointsmen are on the roads easing traffic congestion so everyone gets where they need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using #PointsmenLove. Licensed insurer and FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Right, let's go to the Madlanga Commission, where the Deputy Chief of the Tshwane Metro Police Department, he is currently suspended, Umashi Dlamini, was back at the Madlanga Commission. He's been there for a number of days, being questioned on a number of things, including the extent to which he did his job with a sense of integrity and probity, but also plenty of questions about his relationship with Sergeant Fani Nkosi. Need we remind you, Sergeant Nkosi does not and has never worked for the Tshwane Metro Police Department or the Tshwane government at all, but seemed to have been centrally involved in an exchange of emails, WhatsApps, and conversations in regard to lucrative tenders being offered by the Metro. So, how did it go today, Thabiso Gorba? You've been watching it. You have a very clear sense of the dynamics of the questions and the quality of the answers. Another tough day for Mr. Dlamini?
Good afternoon, John. Yes, definitely another tough day. And I mean, part of that, John, is obviously the struggle to answer very basic questions. And you do wonder that, you know, when people struggle to answer basic questions, is it because they're trying to hide something, or maybe they're just struggling because the question is hard? But, you know, you take the matter of Gubi's 85 Solutions.
Yes.
So you understand that Gubi's 85 Solutions, we have been mentioning it a number of times. Now, this is a company that invoiced the Tshwane municipality for 6 months, or it had outstanding invoices for 6 months. And how the Tshwane municipality operates is that there has to be a purchase order first, and then the company must invoice the Tshwane municipality, and there has to be a match between the purchase order and the invoice that's generated by the company. And you have a situation where a company comes up with an invoice, but there wasn't a purchase order that was generated by the municipality prior to it. And then Umashi Dlamini, who's also works in the finance department of the TMPD, who's responsible basically for supporting contractors, he pays out this company. And we've had two senior officials at the TMPD saying that they suspected that some companies were being paid out for invoices that were for work that wasn't done. And Umashi Dlamini was asked in terms of the fact that how does it get to 6 months? Because the MFMA regulations say that invoices have to be paid out after 30 days, and that there has to be a purchase order before there is an invoice from a company. And again, Umashi Dlamini, again, we've talked about this, John, he passed the buck to someone else, saying that he got these invoices and he didn't understand who gave this company work without a purchase order. But what he did is that he verified that the company did do the work, and once he verified, then he put in place the situation to obviously make the payments possible to the company. And again, you spoke about Sergeant Fani Nkosi not being an employee of this matter. Now, this was an invoice dispute that Sergeant Nkosi, for some reason, he played a very protagonist role in resolving this dispute, where there was a lot of messages being passed from Sergeant Nkosi to Umashi Dlamini, and from Umashi Dlamini to Sergeant Nkosi to then the Tshwane CFO, Gareth Mnisi. And there was a question whether this is the appropriate platform. Is this the appropriate dispute resolution for invoices at the Tshwane municipality? And he says, oh, no, it's not, but this was an emergency and this is how we had to do it. So again, you know, John, there was quite a number of questions, even him leaking confidential tender documents to Sergeant Fani Nkosi about why are you doing some of these things? Why are you taking internal matters and taking it to an external person? And some of the answers that he gave were very weak, and it goes back to what I said, John, is that it wasn't a very good day for him. It's just wrapped up, and you wonder whether some of the hard questions that he struggled to answer, was it because the questions were hard, or was he trying to hide something?
Thank you so much, Thabiso Gorba. Another marathon but fascinating session at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. 22 minutes past 5.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, let's turn to an inquiry that will have to take place. It would seem National Treasury has been asked by the Department of Basic Education to look into a story that was published today on News 24. The headline on it, I think, sums it up fairly well. Company with no publishing history gets the lion's share of 1.6 billion rand textbook tender. Textbooks and learning support materials, all of them appropriate for the foundation phase, the first 3 years of school, as I understand it. Various publishers submitted what they believed would be appropriate, and these were reviewed. However, the largest part of the contract has gone to a company called Lighthouse Publishers. And it is a company that was set up, I think, just 3 days before the deadline. It has no history of publishing at all. One of the directors, Georgia Groom, previously ran an au pair business. Her business partner, Michael Mugoya, was appointed as a director only on the 1st of March, and he's currently in China studying data science and big data technology. So there's a lot of questions that need asking and answering, and the Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Gwachube, is with us to at least get that process underway. Minister, welcome, and thanks very much for giving us your time. Is it fair to say that if News 24 hadn't published this, you wouldn't have known about it, which would then suggest that any kind of cross-check and warning systems in the department that ought to pick up some of these things are not working?
Yeah. Good afternoon, John, and good afternoon to your listeners. I think what's important, and I think this bears, just for the sake of the listeners, repeating that the PFMA is quite clear about the role division between the minister and the accounting officer of the department. Under no circumstances I can get involved in any procurement processes under any bid committees. In fact, that's part of the reason why a lot of the ministers that were identified by the Zondo Commission. That was part of the problem, because ministers were getting involved in procurement processes. So, in respecting that piece of legislation, I can't be involved in any of those things. Otherwise, that is now the realm of the accounting officer. However, when there is a trigger of other irregularity or whatever the case may be, and we are grateful for our robust media, then I have to play an oversight role. And what have I done? And most people say, but surely then...
Sorry, Minister, can I jump in, though? I do want you to answer, if you will, please, the question that I actually asked you. We can come to your role later, but that wasn't where I put my focus. I'm saying to you, if News 24 hadn't exposed this, the department would have known about it. Is that correct? And secondly, does that point to a profound inadequacy in the internal systems of your department?
I don't think so at all, John. Ultimately, the process is rigorous. This is a process that's still going to go to provinces, and ultimately provinces have the right to decide which publishers that they want to purchase from. But at the same time, allegations were made, and I had to react, and I had to be responsive as quickly as possible. And that is why I wrote to the Minister of Finance this morning to say to him, can the Chief Procurement Officer look into this matter, to see whether all procurement processes were followed to the T and the way in which they needed to be followed. A lot of people are asking, why don't you ask law enforcement agencies to get involved? But the reality here is that until I know whether or not the procurement process was followed well, I can't involve law enforcement agencies. That's why the Chief Procurement Officer becomes quite important. Once that report comes back from Treasury, I can then trigger law enforcement agencies and hold people accountable.
So many facts need to be pulled and tugged and see if they can stand up to all of this. But on the face of it, approval of 1,707 titles for a publisher who has never published anything. I mean, surely just on the face of that, the Chief Procurement Officer and everybody else who sat evaluating this thing would say, hey, listen, you look promising. We're going to give you a chance. But to come in at the top end of a process with no track record at all, surely on the face of it must be gravely concerning.
It's gravely concerning for me because, of course, ultimately my responsibility and my focus is one, making sure that public money is spent appropriately and that the learners who are waiting for this catalogue to be rolled out on the first day of school in 2027 receive those textbooks. So the capacity of any of the bidders to be able to deliver on time is something of concern for me. And that's why, as I say, because I don't sit in bid committees, I don't know what are the things, the checks and balances that they have when they have those meetings. However, Treasury has the Chief Procurement Officer that is the custodian of procurement legislation in South Africa. And that's why, in my view, that it's important that I stick to the facts around the procurement process and that I don't delve into the actual facts of the case because I'll be overstepping there.
But Minister, I get that you don't sit in procurement processes, but you are steering an overall ship that needs to sail past certain points at a certain time, bearing in mind where they need to go next. So on your list of things that need to get done in 2026, presumably you and your chief of staff and your DG and everyone around you would say, listen, these are the deadlines we have to meet if new material is to be ready for the foundation phase in 2027. Now, if that's broadly true, have you received any updates from the procurement process? And again, I accept what you say that you're not in that process yourself, but surely updates would have told you, did somebody report to you and say, oh, it's all gone well, for example?
Look, I mean, the provinces still have up until June to make orders for the processes. So this is not a timeline issue, John. This is not whether or not a timeline was followed. But I think for me, what's important, and I think South Africans need to understand this, that no organization, as you make the point earlier, that you are responsible ultimately for the running of the department, and I accept that. And I want to say to South Africans, no organization is above reproach of having people who are corrupt or people who won't do any wrongdoing. What sets apart an organization is if the leader is prepared to make the tough call to act on people who have done wrong things. And that, for me, is a profound difference between me and other ministers who have sat in and been complicit where things have gone wrong, when tender processes where they had personal interests.
Minister, can I suggest that given the gravity of what's facing DBE, is this really the time to be firing shots at other ministers? I mean, surely your total focus ought to be on your ministry and what's confronting it today.
Yes, of course, but I'm explaining that no organization is beyond reproach, but what matters is what you do when you find those allegations. Within 2 hours, I was already in contact with Treasury to say this matter needs to be, please be prioritized.
Thank you so much. We'll have to leave it there. Sibiwe Gwakube, Minister of Basic Education. 702 Drive, 5:30.
EWN Business.
Later than we should, but that was an important interview, I think, with the Minister of Basic Education. Let's catch up with the business news headlines after that. Stephen Critters first.
Good afternoon to you, John. Yeah, all about oil today. So oil slipping a few cents since I last spoke to you, still over $110 a barrel. It's up. The UAE is leaving OPEC, and of course the fuel levy is being still suspended for another couple of months, sort of another month and a half, if I can put it like that. I say that because for the next month there will be a reduction in the fuel levy. It will be that suspension of the fuel levy will continue. There'll be a little bit more help for diesel as well. But after that, by July, we'll be back to kind of normal in terms of the fuel levy. And so we do need to prepare for much higher fuel prices. And for June, half of it will be reintroduced. So some temporary relief. But John, unless things change dramatically, it is going to be quite rough. The oil share down 1.86%, 114,400 on the day. Financials up 0.65%, industrials down 1%, and then resources down 5.25%. Gold was down over 2% on the day, platinum down 2%, and that having the impact you would expect. In fact, all of the shares that were down today are all mining shares. I mean, Sibanye down 8%, Implats down 6%, Goldfields, DRD, Gold, I mean, all of them are just down. Pan African Northern down 4.25%, but the rest are all down quite dramatically. Anglo 5.5% down. They also had a quarterly update today. They did say that they expect that merger with Tech will be finalized by March next year. Regulatory approvals holding that up, obviously. Also, Bloomberg reporting their 3 sort of suitors for their coal assets, and Kumba Iron Ore saying their production was 2% lower, mainly to accommodate Transnet. They had planned maintenance. And Combined Motor Holdings said their revenue was up 17%, their headline earnings up by over 30% in the year to the end of February. Energy stocks up, Tungela up 5, Sasol up 1.38, Capitec having a good, one or two of the financials having a good day. So Capitec's up 2%, Momentum's up 1.2, Standard Bank and the JSE up over 1%. And Spar, there's been a bit of good news around them. They're up 1.2, and Sasol, as you'd expect, up 1.38% on the day. In the US, a little bit more scares around AI, John. So that's pushed the Dow Jones up 0.1, but the Nasdaq is down 1.3, and the S&P 500's down 0.7% at the moment. The gold price, $4,573.46. Platinum, $1,944.10. Brent crude, $110.82. The rand to the dollar, 16.54 to the euro, 19.37 to the British pound, 22.34. On the Money Show tonight, more on the fuel levy. And then Kiers Beyers. He's the man behind Beyers Chocolates, John. They're the ones who make chuckles for Woolworths. Woolworths has said, we're not having this agreement anymore because you want to buy another factory. And now it seems Beyers is going into liquidation. So we will talk to Kiers Beyers and ask him why. What's the story here? What's going on? And just hear his side of it. We put in a call to Woolworths. We haven't had a positive response as yet. Stephen Crotus, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. Let's get the latest eyewitness news. And Bali Dlamini, good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Residents in parts of Johannesburg will have to contend with another 24 hours of darkness while technicians work to restore electricity supply. It follows a fire at the central substation, disrupting power supply in areas around the CBD. The power entity says repairs to the underground infrastructure are yet to be completed, with only 25% of the affected areas still waiting to get their lights turned back on. This includes residents and Commissioner Albert, Fox, Marshall and N Streets, who are now entering almost a full week with no electricity. City Power spokesperson Isaac Mangina.
But also because of the rains that have been persistent in the past few days, especially this past long weekend, which also contributed towards the flooding of those tunnels. So it's a dangerous situation for us to work under, as such that Joburg Water is basically assisting us in terms of pushing those water.
Police Portfolio Committee Chairperson Ian Cameron wants the suspension of Police Head of Supply Chain, Molefe Fani, to be fast-tracked without further delay. Fani is accused of alleged misconduct in connection with the awarding of a 360 million rand tender to alleged crime kingpin Vusumuzi Matlala's company. Cameron says any police official implicated in wrongdoing must face the consequences. Babalondenze reports.
Molefe Fani appeared before the Parliament Ad Hoc Committee investigating police corruption in November last year. Fani was grilled by MPs about the Medicare 24 contract awarded to Kat Matlala and why it was not red-flagged. He was asked by Ian Cameron whether background checks were done on Matlala before the tender was awarded.
There are instances where there are commodities where we run background checks. In this instance, no, they were not done.
In a statement today, Cameron says he welcomes reports that there is a letter of intention to suspend Fani. Cameron says under Fani's leadership, SAPS recorded irregular expenditure of 640 million rand for the 2024-25 financial year, an increase of about 140%. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News.
And the United Nations says it's concerned about the millions of children who are facing extreme violence and displacement in Sudan's Darfur region. The agency says the lack of international attention to the crisis is also something to be criticized. The Sudanese army and paramilitary rapid support forces have been locked in a brutal conflict since April 2023, which has killed tens of thousands of people and has displaced millions of others. Since the war began, UNICEF says it has documented more than 5,700 grave violations against children across the country. A partly cloudy afternoon in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Temperatures will peak at highs of between 22 and 23 degrees. The top story in EWN, residents in parts of Johannesburg will have to contend with another 24 hours of darkness while technicians work to restore electricity supply.
The Clement Manyatela Show on 702.
The Clement Manyatela Show is about everything. It's about current affairs, family matters, the work environment, your health and wellness, relationship and sex issues that couples face. It's about learning, helping each other, healing, teaching. It's about life in essence. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is that we are quite intentional about doing life together. We're always pulling through for each other, learning from each other, always teaching each other. We're not scared to disagree, but also we're brave enough to be vulnerable with each other. We just care about each other, and I think that is priceless.
The Clement Manyatela Show, weekdays from 9 to 12 p.m.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is pleased to present Brigham Young University's Living Legends Cultural Tour of Southern Africa from 30 April to 14 May. Experience this internationally acclaimed ensemble featuring powerful music and dance, celebrating global cultures. Catch the performances in Cape Town on 30 April at the CTICC and in Johannesburg on 1 and 2 May at Wits Linde Auditorium. Tickets are available now on Quicket.
Gear up for glorious Grand Slam success with Hollywood Bets. Take your tennis passion to new heights and feel every stroke, rally and match point as the drama unfolds at the Australian Open, Roland Garros, Wimbledon and US Open. The biggest stages in tennis have been set as the world's best go head-to-head for ultimate bragging rights. Bet now and make every moment count. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
Ah, Shane, do you have a sore throat? The Andalex range of lozenges offers two options. At the first signs of an irritated, scratchy throat, use Andalex lozenges for dual-action, soothing relief. But for a painful, inflamed throat, use Andalex C lozenges for triple-action, pain relief. Andalex, SA's #1 choice for a sore mouth and throat. Andalex lozenges are available at all leading pharmacies and supermarkets.
Just Andalex it.
Celebrate our mothers on Sunday 10 May at Nyrox Sculpture Park in the splendour of the cradle of humankind. Wander through the sweeping landscapes, embrace contemporary sculpture, taste premium Cape wines and savour gourmet cuisine, all to the sounds of some of South Africa's finest performing artists. Nyrox is delighted to welcome Lyra back to their stage, as well as Steve Dyer's band alongside a 20-piece choir. Limited tickets are available from nyroxarts.com. Nyrox is a private not-for-profit foundation to benefit the arts. All income is used to maintain the grounds, the artist residency program and artist support.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hey, Uncle John, Alex from Pretoria here. Adding to the gentleman that talked about the potholes, also talk about the Itswane portal. How much did they spend for that portal not to work? I mean, you can't do anything with that portal. That's all I can tell you. That portal is useless. It's only useful when they want it to be useful.
John, good afternoon. If you want to know potholes, come to the VAL, Mfuleni Municipality. It's the head office of potholes, the hub thereof, if I may.
Is there a champion? The head office of potholes. I think what we'll do tomorrow is ask everybody to nominate and describe their head office of potholes. It can be urban, it can be metro, it can be small town, it can be rural. I would have nominated the road between Dalstrom and Mashishing, Leidenburg, but that was many years ago. I haven't ridden that road for a while. But anyway, we'll do that tomorrow. 18 minutes now to 6 o'clock. We're going to do some music later in the show, and we've got a simple question for you. Favorite song by a band or an artist that has food in the name? So, yeah, let's take a listen. Okay, no, we'll do that later. Okay, here we go. Let's get the very latest sport.
EWN Sport.
Tola Kelly, looking forward to some great football tonight, yeah?
Absolutely, John. And the first of the UEFA Champions League semi-finals take place this evening as holders PSG take on Bayern Munich. Luis Enrique's Chargers are targeting a 100th win in this competition, while he's discussed his side determination and desire to retain their title.
Well, it's something different because the first one, it was like a relief for everybody in Paris, and now it's a different history. It's a motivation for us. Making history was great, but we are hungry and we want to improve our level. I'm excited to play that match, to play those 2 matches, and looking forward to starting the match tomorrow.
Bayern Munich are looking to reach a first final since the 2019-20 season, which was also the last time they won this competition. And with that in mind, Vincent Kompany has discussed what it will take to beat the Parisians.
I think the psychology is also, we have a lot of players in our team still who are experienced as well to win the Champions League, to be in these games. It was not so long ago that Bayern was in the semi-final of the Champions League. I think they're two very experienced teams. I think Luis Enrique said that it's going to be about details. It's never been more true, and he played at the top level, so it's something you know when you've played also there, that it's the players deciding these moments.
Real Madrid defender Eder Militao will miss the FIFA World Cup after undergoing surgery on a hamstring tear. It was initially thought he could recover in time for the tournament, but further tests showed a reoccurrence of the injury that he had sustained back in December. At the same time, Algeria goalkeeper Luka Zidane is a doubt for the tournament after suffering a jaw and chin fracture while playing for Grenada in Spain's second tier. The son of Zinedine Zidane was taken off with concussion, having collided with an opponent during his team's 4-2 home defeat by Almeria on Sunday. Switching to the track, where Laith Pillay ran a personal best time of 31.58 seconds. That's in the 300 meters of the Akani Simbini Classic. For founder Simbini, he opened up his season with a time of 9.98 seconds to win the men's 100 meters. The meeting is the first World Athletics Continental Tour Silver event to be hosted in South Africa, and Simbini has discussed what he aims to achieve with it.
I think it's important to actually get the international athletes here. That's what we're doing it for. It's to get them here, but for our national athletes to run against them. For them to get the opportunity to actually earn money here, so that you actually have some money that can take you to Europe or to China or to the US to actually compete on those circuits. The fact that all these other countries are attracting the athletes, and these athletes are making a tour out of it. You know, they're starting up north and coming down to South Africa. You know, that already shows what the future could look like for everybody else.
And world number one Yannick Sinner has reached the quarterfinals of the Madrid Open following a straight sets win over Cameron Norrie. Sinner is bidding for his fourth ATP Masters 1000 title in a row and beat Norrie 6-2 and 7-5 to extend his winning streak to 20 matches. Tola Gelemganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. And you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Kumotso Munyai with an update.
Thank you, John. If you're traveling on the N3 South, you can expect slow-moving traffic. This is from Linksfield Road through to the Galulis interchange. And further down, if you're heading towards Alberton, there's also slow-moving traffic on the R59. This is from the Reading interchange all the way to Swartkoppies Road. The M1 North remains congested from Corlett Drive all the way to the Betlu interchange, so maybe a little bit of patience as you head there. Over in Devland, traffic remains sluggish along the Golden Highway between the N12 and the N1, and it is due to those roadworks and also just the peak time delays. And there's still some slow-moving traffic as well on the N12 West. This is through the Diepkloof interchange. Likewise, if you come across any other traffic on your side, please do send us a voice note on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Things people stress about in traffic. Number 48. Did I upload the updated version of the presentation? Oh, the anxiety. Well, with the Outsurance Pointsman on your route, at least the traffic is one less thing to stress about. The Outsurance Pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so we all get to where we need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In partnership with 702, Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
The Aubrey Masangu Show on 702.
I cover on my show issues of advisory, whether it is legal matters, whether it is financial matters. I cover day-to-day issues as far as current affairs are concerned. I cover the politics of the day and how we as South Africans are interpreting it. My listener is a curious 702 lander. They want to know what are the backstories, the stories behind what we are hearing on the airwaves. They want to understand what drives the different issues that have us talking. What I love about the 702 family and 702 land is the fact that we have 702 landers who are responsive, who are present, who care about their communities and who want to know how they can be a part of the process of making our areas better, but also our country better. And that for me is a great privilege. I am totally indebted to the providence out there to be talking to these people on a daily basis.
The Aubrey Masangu Show, weekdays from 8 to midnight.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive at 12 minutes to 6. Simple musical question and test for you. Pick a band or an artist whose name is a name of some kind of food or drink and tell me your favorite song. Let's give you some iced tea just to get you thinking and going.
Yo, VIP. Let's kick it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. Alright, stop. Collaborate and listen. Ice is back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly. Flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't know. Turn off the lights and I'll glow. To the extreme, I rock a mic like a vandal. Light up a stage and wax a chump like a candle. Dance, caress a speaker that booms. I'm killing your brain like a poisonous mushroom. Deadly, when I play a dope melody. Anything less than the best is a felony. Love it or leave it, you better gain weight. You better hit bullseye, the kid don't play. If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby.
Okay, so we've got ourselves going a song where the artist is a type of food or drink, not the song itself. So let us know if you've got one of those, a very special song. Send them to 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons with Relebogile Mabodja.
702 Afternoons is about all things in life, from music to inspiration. We get an opportunity to explore science, mental health, food. I almost feel like there's nothing we don't do on my show. One of the things I absolutely love about 702 Land and the 702 family is that we are so sharing. We share tears, laughs, smiles. We share in the amazing times and celebrate together as well. We have a range of topics, but when it comes to what we do cover on the show, absolutely everything. My listener is somebody who wants to grow, evolve, develop. They're empathetic, they are loving. They are so special that even when they don't have, they come through and share, and more importantly, they know how to walk the talk.
702 Afternoons with Relebogile Mabodja. Weekdays from 1 to 3 p.m.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an unmistakable rhythm that brings us all together. In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi to unite the whole of Joburg in the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babize Bonke. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going on a walk through the iconic Joburg CBD. We want you to join us and be a part of something that is going to be truly special. Entries open soon. In the meantime, stay tuned to 702 and get ready for the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for our Jozi. Babize Bonke, more on primediaplus.com.
Switching to Outsurance Business Insurance was a quick process. I saved a lot of money.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium when you switch? For boutique hotels, catering companies, and all other businesses. Get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance business insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Okay, artists and bands that have some kind of food in the title. I always thought Meatloaf would come up. Thank you, Ralph, who says, my choice on the music topic, Meatloaf, Anything for Love.
And I would do anything for love. I'd run right into hell and back. I would do anything for love. I'll never lie to you, and that's a fact. But I'll never forget the way you feel right now. Oh no. No way, and I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. No, I won't do that. And some days it don't come easy, and some days it don't come.
Meatloaf, I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that. 1993, a great song by a singer who definitely has some food in his name. Let's do another.
Hello, John. Craig from Northcliffe. The group Bread, and the song is Time in a Bottle.
Hi, John. It's Gary from Germiston. Just thinking about that. Peanut butter conspiracy, understanding. It brings back memories. Thanks, John.
Understanding is the best thing in the world. Between a boy or a girl, now boy or girl, or even a woman or a man, it makes it better if you really understand. Now this understanding, it's a mighty powerful thing. And that's why it makes us so sad to see our friends running around through this world, not knowing the meaning of the word understanding. So in the next few minutes, we'd like to explain exactly what it means. Now, for example, you take me and my old lady. We've got a good thing going, oh Lord. Because I know darn well, if I don't pay the bills and the rent and buy her fine, frilly clothes to wear, there's about 15 other guys just waiting around the corner. And if I don't leave that pinball machine alone, man, she's gonna go out.
The peanut butter conspiracy, late 60s in South Africa, early 70s. I'm trying to get my bearings. That song called Understanding. Now, we've got a couple of suggestions, Taryn. I got a feeling from the Black Eyed Peas. Have I ever eaten Black Eyed Peas? I know the song. No, the band. Yeah, I probably have, actually. But Demo also, Where is the Love? Black Eyed Peas coming in again. And Hot Chocolate, Man to Man, from Tabo, out in Hartbeespoort Dam. Perry shares this. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Under the Bridge. A hot song, I suppose.
Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner. Sometimes I feel like my old only friend is the city I live in, the city of angels. Lonely as I am, together we cry. I drive on the streets 'cause she's my companion. I walk through the hills 'cause she knows who I am. She sees my good deeds and she kisses me when day. And I never worry, now that is a lie. I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love. Take me all the way. I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love.
Yeah, Red Hot Chili Peppers, love that one. Sichaba, Peaches and Herb, Let's Fall in Love. And Tutu asks, is the Peanut Butter Conspiracy a South African band? When I Google sometimes, it says South African. Sometimes it says founded in California. There were two bands, one here and one there. The South African musicians between 70 and 73, Brian Milder, Eddie Payne, Peter Lynch, Mick Spooner, Stuart Preston, and Herbert Simon. Very much homegrown. One more, if we can.
Hi John, Mornay here in 3. Jambalaya by the Carpenters, sir. It's like a mixed dish, like a paella type of thing.
A good bad Joe, he gotta go, me oh my oh. He gotta go, pull the pirogue down the bayou. Here's Yvonne, the sweetest one, me oh my oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Thibaudot, Fountain Road, the place is buzzing. Kinfolk come to see Yvonne by the dozen. Dressed in style, they go whole wild, me oh my oh. Son of a gun, we'll have big fun on the bayou. Jambalaya, crawfish pie, and Philly.
Okay, rather quick end to that particular song from the Carpenters. Thank you, Mornay. Jambalaya. Coming to an end of the show, 702 Drive. Lots of stories that are still out there, lots of stories still to play out. I'm very, very interested to see what Treasury comes up with in regard to that learning materials and book tender. I don't know how much kids in foundation phase actually get books, but anyway, it's a lucrative tender and the questions are flying about. More on that, I'm sure, on 702 tomorrow, but before all of that, of course, we've got the Money Show at 6. I'm John Perlman. Good night.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Corporate and Investment Banking, engineered for how Africa trades. That's how invested Absa is in your story. Good evening. On your Money Show tonight, more relief from the fuel levy, but only for